And it is September 25th, 2016. Amazing. The last week of September. The last week of September. So I'm going to read from the Signs of the Mind. I've not done that in a while. I'm going to read it from September 24th and September 25th, which I haven't done that. And for September 24th, the title is Joy of Prayer. I know that when I pray, something wonderful happens, not just to the person or persons for whom I'm praying, but also something wonderful happens to me. I'm grateful that I'm heard. And that's by Maya Angelou. Since some people have been healed through prayer while others have not, the answer is not that God has responded to some and not to others, but that some have responded to God more than others. Their prayer, their thought has responded by corresponding. The answer to prayer is in the prayer. The Signs of Mind, page 28. In Judaism, the month of Elul is a time of repentance in preparation for the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. As the month draws to a close, prayers for forgiveness called Selekot are added to the daily cycle of religious services. Selekot are recited in the early morning and add 45 minutes to the regular daily service. The first Selekot service will be held around midnight tonight. In religious science, many of our centers honor the World Peace Cooperative and a moment of peace around the world. In my community, we would gather on December 30th and pray, meditate, dance, sing, and walk the labyrinth for 12 hours or more. Then at 5 a.m. local time, we would join people around the world at the exact same moment in praying for peace. It is one of the most powerful rituals in which I have participated. Do you have a regular time in your spiritual cycle that calls you to deeper and more intense prayer, meditation, or another practice? If not, might it support you to create one? And the affirmation is, I acknowledge my spiritual needs and listen to the calling to go and live deeper. And now for September 25th, the title is Joy of Miracles. Where there is great love, there are always miracles. Willa Cather. There is a point in the supreme moment of realization where the individual merges with the universe, but not to the loss of his individuality, where a sense of the oneness of all life so enters his being that there is no sense of otherness. It is here that the mentality performs seeming miracles because there is nothing to hinder the whole from coming through. The Science of Mind, page 358. Heidi had an idea. She wanted to tour the United States in a large mobile home for a year and explore everything the country had to offer through the eyes of its people, regions, food, language, differences, events, and everything else she could encounter. She was and is, as Ernest Holmes would say, open at the top. There were a few perceived challenges for her to consider. First, she and her husband both had jobs that they really liked. Second, she owned a beautiful home in a suburb of Austin that she had lovingly fully furnished. Third, how would their beloved little dog adjust to life on the road? And oh yes, she and her husband had 4 children, all of whom were in single digits, save the oldest, who would become a teenager in short order. The whole family engaged this process and the project with positive energy and a willingness to grow and expand. And they did it. They leased their home and put everything in storage, got the mobile home, planned the itinerary, made arrangements with their employers to work remotely and hit the road. And what an amazing journey it was, both literally and figuratively. Some would call it a miracle. In the family's blog of the trip, their youngest daughter calls it crazy, no fewer than 5 times in one entry. Heidi calls it setting a goal and enlisting support to achieve something that's in the highest and best for all. I call it miraculous. I believe that miracles are happening all the time and that if I'm having a human moment and not recognizing them, it is an opportunity for me to step into my practice until I'm able to. And the affirmation is, I joyfully choose to have magic and miracles in my life. So, today, September 25th. Wow. 24 hours since the purge. Now, I know they had a movie, supposed to be a horror movie called The Purge. But, it was dealing with other aspects of things, which I choose not to call the name, you know. But the true purge really had to do with us purging, myself, and some few of us are doing it. Purging out the anger and purging out a lot of ancestral lineage of fear and things that we've been taught for a very, very long time. And so I think my children facilitated that icing on the cake when I felt like as if I just wasn't appreciated on a grand scale. And so everything was like a build up and a build up and a build up, and so it reached its peaking point and it had to come out to the surface. I'm telling you, I didn't even get to, I know whatever I said in my previous segment, I was in the moment of how I was feeling. Now in retrospect, I can tell you I was slamming the door. I was angry. I was infuriated, and I was so angry with the way how things have been with my life. And I realized that also what I was purging through was whatever has happened in the lineage in my family bloodline, and also with Ivan. When I think about Ivan and how he is feeling also, because I know that the kind of work that he does, that he probably, and I know he's not appreciated, not appreciated at all. And so you're like, you reach a certain point, even the kind of work that I had been doing with certain people, because I also have been doing medical billing, for myself. And I used to feel so upset with how I was treated. And, they like to collect the money, but then when it comes time for me to get paid, oh boy, I tell you, it's like a fight to the end, and it was ridiculous. I used to be so upset over it. And, so that was the 3D aspect of all of that. But you see, there has been so much accumulation of how we are treated by others and not respected for our gifts, or honored for our gifts, or honored for the work that we do. I do remember I had a segment that I had put out there, and for me to remember when that was, oh no, I cannot remember. But I know that I spoke about how we treat each other, even in the working environment. If you have someone that works for you or you work for them, it's about honoring yourself and honoring others. It even includes business partnerships. It's like you're looking out for your highest good and their highest good at the same time. It's like aligning yourself with the energy of balance, and also you're honoring yourself for how much you should be paid, that you're entitled to a break, you're entitled to benefits, you're entitled to a lot of things. How does your employer treat you? How do you treat yourself? You know what I mean? And stuff. And this is how we're creating a new world, because this is also what I want to talk about. I wasn't expecting this, but this is where my higher self leads the way. Yes, my higher self leads the way with everything that happens, right down to the toenail, to the music, everything. So I'm talking about, how do we build a conscious community? How do we build a conscious community? It's important to understand that, and it's important to be aware of that. You build a conscious community, of course, starting from within yourself, and that does include the balancing of honoring yourself and honoring others, and also acknowledgement, as I spoke of before, because I realized that I was not being acknowledged for who I am as Sharon, okay, in this lifetime, which culminated in this lifetime from the previous lifetimes that I've had, especially as Queen Nefertiti, especially that time frame. That time frame has gone back so many times to what I experienced when it came to the stiff-necked people, is what I call them. And every time I talk about that, the circumcision of the heart. If you do not allow your heart to become circumcised, that means that you're carving out the old ways of how you connect to each other, carving out your ways of feeling and communication. I know that we communicate by words, we communicate through song and praise and all these things, you know what I'm saying? But how about communicating through the heart as well? What the heart knows and what it's speaking. What is speaking and coming from the heart? How have you treated yourselves? How have you treated others? In fairness and balance. So we're building a conscious community now. It's already started. And this is, of course, this is in conjunction to those who are already in the fifth dimension. You're on their way there, or they're already there. You know what I mean? You're not traveling physically to this place. It's within you. It has to do with your level of consciousness. It has to do with how you are thinking, feeling, and being consciously with living on planet Earth. And that includes how you treat others. And others include the animals. And it also includes the children. It also includes your neighbors. It doesn't matter whether they're at the same conscious level as you. This is not about discriminating as, oh, I'm more awake than the other one. Oh, they're not awake, so I don't need to deal with that person. You know, of course, if the spirit moves the energy where they're not in your space, then so be it. But I'm talking about if they're there, you acknowledge and you say, you know, I know they're in some cultures where they have no manners whatsoever. I mean, ridiculous. Don't say good morning, how are you, hello, or even if you don't say good morning, greetings. I don't even use the word hello. I say hi, you know, greetings, how are you, you know, kindness. Reaching out towards one another through kindness, a kind word to one another. How was your day? I feel bad today. I feel terrible that you feel bad today. I send love and light to you. Okay? It don't cost you anything just to be kind towards one another, even if the person doesn't agree with you. You don't have to feel that you're not kind to a person just because they don't agree with you, then fuck them. You know, no. Because, you know, when you treat someone like that, you never know, one day you could be also in the same feeling position that they're in. And so that's a part of our building our conscious community, reaching out to each other. And, it, you know, we do have our own inward things that we look at within ourselves. And then there's also the extension of that, which is outwardly. Okay. And this happens within a community, and it starts from within you, and then it starts from within your home life. And then, of course, it's extended to your neighbors, who you work with. Okay. Whether it's professional or personal, that you work personally with someone, business wise as well. The world is changing dramatically, rapidly, quickly, you know, and right before our very eyes. And there is no stopping any of this, as I have always stated before. And so building a conscious community also involves being involved. Okay. And you be involved. Just don't put too much, you know, only on one side. You also focus on your own life and your love life and your love, you know. Fill up your soul with this love that you extend out to others. Not where you're coming across from being negative and having negative thoughts and feelings and projecting it out there. I've always said that when something's missing, you know, which usually most often it's those who don't seem to focus and talk much about love as much, you know, barely. I mean, people are even afraid to even talk about sex. They don't even want to talk about making love or talk about what it is, that the importance of this making love, especially with twin flames. That seems to be something that, you know, people are just skirting around it now, just moving away from it. Guess what? That is the number one top of the line aspect of the purpose of a twin flame, is divine sacred love. That act in and of itself, it is sacred, and it involves the highest level of reaching to God. That's right. That's right. And communing with God and worshiping. That is the truth. So for those who are still afraid to deal with it and talk with it and speak on it, guess what? That's what I'm here for. So I don't expect everyone to do the same thing, but I'm giving you food for thought. Food for thought, so to speak. You know, every time I kept telling myself, oh, you came off that topic again. And then I found myself back there again, because I am the instigator of love. And so what that means is that I'm going to speak on it. I'm going to dive into it. I'm going to go in depth with it. You know, I even had a segment I had done from a long time ago to do with understanding our sexual organs and how it relates to us and how it relates to the ascension. Did you know that it relates to the ascension? Absolutely. It's not just the ascension symptoms of, what you're eating or not eating, or sleeping habits and all these things. There's so many things contributing to what is happening with our bodies. Everything. And so everything plays a role and a part with us building this conscious community that is here. It's already here. It's starting. It's happening. That includes the government. That includes our lives. It includes how we do things, how we view things, and how we're viewing it and doing it at the same time, changing and shifting with how we're raising our children. Also our views as far as governing ourselves, because there's a change with that coming too. There's a lot of changes that are happening, but this is about working this together. Even those people who out there who are hungry, and what it takes to build a conscious community, including that people who work together, that the food that are in the supermarkets and the restaurants, that we start working together so that way no one is supposed to be hungry. Okay, then we're talking about the fake mortgage companies that are taking homes away from people where their homes are paid off in the first place. No one's talking about that either. Guess what? That's what I'm here for. So my journey to who I am is on a grand scale, but I'm not going to be going out there being the martyr, and rescuing anyone like, here I come to save the day. I'm giving you food for thought on how things change when we do it together as a community. I think about the ants, which I've spoken about before. The ants, they work together. They ball up into one big bunch and they lead the pack together. They're not singling out one individual ant and say, hey, you lead me. No, they're doing it together, collectively. Okay? Of course, it starts from a conscious thought. Notice I said a conscious thought. And so as it starts from that conscious thought, we work our way into bringing it into our reality and manifestation. But that means that you're working on yourself and pulling out all the stuff that doesn't serve you. And that means then that you're purging out all the dogma, the fear, the habits that you've had. Most people right now, they're not even watching TV. They're not into the politics. They're not into the bullshit. And it is bullshit. It's a lot of bullshit going on out there. But it's necessary. Bullshit is necessary for the change that we're happening, because we are rewinding and coming back again. Everything to what Spirit has shown me is that we go back into the past and bring it to the present. Whatever doesn't serve us, poof, out the door. Purging, transmuting it out. This is a part of the alchemical process that we're going through. And there's different levels of alchemy happening here. Different levels of alchemy, metamorphosizing, going from the caterpillar to the butterfly. Then we go to another stage of caterpillarism. That's a new word I'm making up here. Caterpillarism, okay? Caterpillarism to butterflyism. Different aspects of butterflies that we are and becoming. Because you're always becoming. You don't just, oh, I'm a butterfly. Oh, I'm a caterpillar. Oh, it's over. No, it's ongoing. It's an ongoing process. So all of this, as we're coming together, gathered here, there's some of us who are trekking forward ahead, and there's some that are just left behind, and it's okay. Still God choosing to understand him and herself and to experience. The soul desires to experience all these things, and so the soul's desire is now we are bringing down and bringing together our light bodies as we continue to shift and change with our bodies, as we're shifting and changing with the earth and the new earth, and bringing together both worlds, the veil that has become thinner and thinner, where our loved ones are just, they're not passing through anymore. They're here. They're living with us and co-creating with us at the same time. Hello, hello, hello. Newsflash. There's some who probably don't even speak about that either, because there's a fear perhaps, or that's something else that has been purging out through the bloodline. Because when I say about the ancestral lines, I'm going to rephrase it that way too, because in my country there's so much dogma when it comes to those who have died. Call it the dopey, the dopey business here. When we start talking patwa, say I'm getting passionate here and in how I'm explaining it. And so there's so much different things that we're told and taught growing up in my country, where I grew up in Jamaica, but it still applies to the entire Caribbean community, West Indian community, and even so with most of our colored folks, and in other cultures too. It's not just that aspect, but some of us take it to the extreme. So, you know, some of the ones I remember is you light 3 matches with the duppy come up to you and we throw the other 2 ones so the duppy can find the next one. Another thing, you know, taught was when a woman or female is seeing her cycle, that she's not to go to the funeral because what will happen to her. It's so much different things, you know, dogma, fear-based propaganda, as they call it. And children will grow up with a lot of these things, being taught to be in fear and fear of ghosts and people who've died, or don't go around anybody who dies because they'll come after you or whatever. Scared to go in the closet, you know. They don't attend funerals because they're afraid of what can happen if they go to the funeral. It's just so many fears that have been culminated in our world and cultures that have been built up and, you know, involved in rituals and seances and all these things, you know, and they're going to bring on the darkness and the this and so on. So, you know, because I want people to understand that there's 2 different concepts of what's spoken of when it comes to the darkness. So the darkness that is spoken of, that some people and most people are afraid of, is this concept of this name devil, okay, and demon and all that. I want you to understand that those names were created by mankind to create an entity of someone who's in control of whether you're good or bad, right? And saying that God says whether you're good or bad, and if you do this, then you're worshiping this, or if you do that, you're that, you know, and the labeling. And so in my culture, it was something that they call it every single day, practically. La, the devil's strong. Because my grandmother used to say it. She apologized to me. My grandmother came back to me in spirit and she apologized to me because she used to say it so often. So imagine you have hundreds and billions of people on the planet for centuries calling that name. Just like the boogeyman, just like the tooth fairy and Santa Claus, you make it real. Yes, you make it real. And it's a fact. It's a fact. So that which is not now becomes the is. That which has not existed, you make it real. So if you hold on to that vibration and believe that it is real, then it becomes real for you. You create that reality. You're always creating your reality because you're always in creation, because you're creative beings. That's right. And that which you concentrate and focus on, and the next one does the same thing, and the next one does the same thing, you give it power. That's right. You give it power. You give your power away. So that's one of the reasons why Spirit had quite a few of us going through this process of purging that had taken away our power because of the dogma, the fears, and all the things we've been taught, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, all these names of entities that have been given, you know, whether good or bad, that have given it power. And as you give it power, you believe in it. As you believe in it, it becomes your reality. That's right. Comes knocking on the door. That's right. Or even the ceiling, no matter where it's knocking, and here it is. As you wish, you know, you literally are living life like a genie in a bottle. As you wish. Your wish is my command. That's what the universe says. If those of you who have ever seen The Secret or read the book, that is what Rhonda talks about. You know, you're like a genie. Your wish is my command. And of course, I'm not negating, of course, the energy of those who go through a dark period in their life, because that is quite different. Because I wanted to make sure to explain this, because I know there's some people, as soon as they hear the word dark, oh boy, here she goes again, and they start to run because they're not understanding. And you know, that is also an energy of darkness, because that energy of darkness is when you are in a dark period of ignorance. Ignorance is when you are in the dark and you have no clue, no idea what the heck is going on. So you're in the dark, and I say that in the dark you shall remain. Now if you allow yourself to come back to the light, that means you come back to the light of things. Things become lighter for you. You feel lighter with it, because even right now as I speak to you, I feel lighter within myself, because that dark period of sadness and anger and frustration, which is okay because I was transmuting it out, has now brought me back into a space of feeling light again. Then there's also the darkness of those who allow themselves to stay in the dark and don't try to understand anything. They're ignorant. Okay? They're at a lower level of consciousness. They choose not to understand. It reminds me of the story of the caveman, where the caveman had two different sets of cavemans, and one was told to be ready and prepared for the changes that were happening on the planet. The other set didn't feel that there was a need to, because it's just like that biblical story of Noah and the ark, when they said get ready for changes that were happening because the earth was going to be taken on by a great flood. And they're like, oh, we haven't had rain for days. I don't need to worry about that. I'm okay. You know, you're talking foolishness. You're crazy. That's what they say. You're crazy. You know, or no, that's not that. It's this way. You know, and so the caveman, there were two sets. When my children told me the story last year, and I asked them, I said, tell me again about that story. And what happened is, when the time came, when something happened, the other set, they perished. They perished because they couldn't adapt. They couldn't adapt. They didn't adapt. They didn't choose to adapt, because it's the nature of human beings to not want to change. And when they choose not to want to change, then they end up going through pain. Okay? And of course, pain is necessary for change. And there is no running from this pain, because it is a part of the process. It is the part of the process of becoming the new you. This is the part of giving birth to yourself, that new part of you, to what you're experiencing and who you've been before. This is not necessarily about letting go of who you were in the past. It's about knowing that you are in the past and the present and the now. So there's no getting rid of. You're just transmuting all the energy to whatever you've been having in your cellular memory for a very, very long time. And that includes your ancestral lineage of things that you've been taught, things that you've carried from lifetime after lifetime. And it goes both ways for those who are twin flames. You know, you're doing it for you and your twin at the same time. I know that whatever I was feeling yesterday, that Ivan was feeling it too. I was pulling out all that stuff that was within him that also has to do with his family lineage on a grand scale. And we are both from West Indian Islands, you know, and it's just about the same. There's not much difference. There's not much difference. We might not have the same dialect, but it's the same thing. We still talk the same language, just that our language is now coming back to love, okay? Not the dopey and the voodoo and all these things. Different scenario. So I know there's some that say, oh, well, you still got to embrace it, you know. Yes, you embrace it, but you don't mean you got to talk about it all the time. Because if you talk about it all the time, you keep bringing it back into your reality over and over again. It becomes like a broken fucking record. Then it starts to become a movie. Then it turns into a book. Then that book gets circulated and someone else gets the book. They come right back again and it becomes another movie. Then you got part 1, then you got part 2. You have act 3, 4, 5, and 6. It reminds me of Freddy Krueger. How many Nightmare on Elm Streets are we going to create here? It's either you say, I choose to create my life of heavenliness now, because I've finished experiencing the aspect of the other sides of myself that I've had before. I choose the other side now. I choose whatever it is that I'm collapsing to stay in my reality of joy and heavenliness. I'm telling you, you know for yourself when you're done, because you'll start to feel it. You start to feel it within yourself. And when you feel it within yourself, you don't talk about it anymore. It done. Like what we say at Jamaica. It done. We don't need to talk about it no more. It's over. It's over. And now we start to create our new reality in the higher dimensions. You see? The higher dimensions of joy and love. This is where, because let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something, because this is the one thing I go by is experience. I remember what it was like when I was having, once again, the sacred full body orgasm. And when I had that experience, it was more than 3 times. When I was having that experience, I don't recall talking about the duppies and the demons, nor was I talking about anything the opposite to who that we have all been before, or what we've ever brought into our reality. No, not at all. It was total blissfulness. I'm going to repeat that again. Total blissfulness. High heart activity was taking place in my entire body. I did not want to come down and descend back down into my body when that was happening. And I was still attached to my body. That's the difference. So this is a part of what the new earth is going to be like. This is where we're just so much in love. And I know there's some who still don't understand that this aspect of being in love, yes, you're in love with yourself, and you're also in love with your twin. Twin is in love with you too. And guess what? You're also in love with everyone else who is in your life. That's right. I told you already, I've had that experience where I was having the high heart, loving feeling towards others that were in my circle. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? I'm so in love with this person. I'm so in love with them. It was a whole different feeling. And that is what it would be like. There was no separateness. There was no separate feeling of, oh, I'm just reserving being in love with my twin. But what I'm saying is that love that's with you and your twin is still sacred within itself. You're the match for each other. You're holding that space of pure unconditional love. That pure unconditional love emanates out to others, and they start to feel it too. They too will want to feel and have the urge to want to be with their divine complements, and therefore there's more anchoring of love and more love being created. It becomes a domino effect. You see? That's what happens. So it is not impossible for some of you out there. You might find yourself feeling that you're in love with someone who is of the same sex as you. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden that you are like you're only attracted to someone of your own sexual preference or something like that, this as you. All it means is that you are experiencing just being in love, and that's it. It doesn't matter who it is. And it's like all of your chakras are activated, and you're starting to feel it in all the parts of your body. And what happens when it does occur, it is like you are sending off a wave. You're sending off a wave of joy in the highest form of expression of God through that love that you're having for each soul. Because the highest aspects and versions of God is coming through our hearts. You see? Through our hearts. And it elevates you so high in frequency. That's why a lot of those who have crossed over to the other side say they don't want to come back down here, because this is where the dense energy is on the earth. But the difference to what is happening now is that you're not gonna have to experience this being out of your body, as one would call dead. You're experiencing it while you're in the physical body. That is what we're heading back to. Just the only reason why our bodies are as dense as it is just because of the when we fell down into this dimension, okay, as one would say in the biblical sense, fall from grace. Okay, we fell from grace, and now we're rising back up again. Okay, and this is why we're aligning the spiritual and the physical world together in harmony. That's the difference. It's that it becomes harmonized. It's like a beautiful song. Every time I think about that classical song, it's called Spring Waltz, and it just made me feel so elevated. I had told several people that when you have classical music, and you listen to classical music, not only does it transmute out any lower energies or sad feelings or anger or whatever, however you're feeling when you want to try to calm down, it also keeps you in a space of love at the same time while it's transmuting. That's why I recommend listening to classical music to facilitate that. It makes a difference. It does make a difference. So I'm going to play one of the music that I'm speaking of. And when you listen to it, it is like a beautiful, it's almost like it's a love story within itself. And the classical music, I have a romance classical music list. And I have like about 43 songs on there. And each time I add more songs to my collection. And as I said before, that the romance classical music is what brings you back into center and the void. Okay, that means that you're neutral, you're in a neutral state. And this will help through any of the purging that you're going through, or transmutation as one would call it. And it also keeps you in high heart elevation. It almost makes you feel like you know, I'm feeling terrible, but I'm feeling great at the same time. This is a part of that process of how you're alchemizing everything and purging through it and transmuting out all the sadness and the pain and the anger and all these things. And it's important because even with whatever I stated in my segment yesterday, is that through the anger and the pain, I was able to bring myself back to love. I did it on my own, and not because I read it somewhere saying, oh, do this, do that. No, each time I allowed myself to be guided through, and I never know when something is going to come up to the surface to do with myself. Because each time that we have experienced something that we're purging, it might re-enter itself back again at another time. And it always comes up for me, during a certain time of the month, whether new moon, full moon, and or these portals, and this has been going on since March of this year, and some of us it's happening at an accelerated rate, because I noticed that there's some who are not going through the same exact experiences that I'm having. But I know in and of itself, for me, that my twin flame template is quite different. I sneeze, so it's true. So anyway, some of us are doing things on a grander scale to do with the collective, as well as whatever is going back and forth between myself and Ivan, with his experiences and my experiences, which are like really similar to one another because of what he has experienced when it comes to, the working thing and all that stuff. So, and I can feel it and know it even with not having any conversation with him. So, look at the patterns of things that have triggered you, made you feel bad or angry. And you know that is your sign and cue to know that you are working through something to either cleanse or purge or transmute, or, moving through those emotions. And once you're consciously aware of it, even if it's after the fact, it's almost like having a catch and release system. You catch something that has caught onto you for centuries, and now you're releasing it once and for all. And sometimes what ends up happening is that sometimes you end up going deeper than you have ever before, because you're talking about something that you've accumulated from such a long time, that it has become like baggage. That's what I call it, like having baggage. And this baggage is something that you're letting go of in a mighty way, in a very mighty way. So letting go of this baggage is what leads you to feeling freer within yourself, and you're moving up to the next level as far as your creativity, your abundance, and all these things. So all those blocks had to be removed, and that's what was happening to me. So I'm going to play just one of the songs that I was talking about. That is, I love this classical piece. It's by Chopin, and it is called Spring Waltz, it's called. And what it had did for me, this is not like I did this yesterday, but I know that it just brings me back into a higher space of feeling so much love. That's all I know. And I'm talking about not just feeling love, but being in love. It's so romantic. That is a beautiful Frederick Chopin Spring Waltz. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to how we can also shift things within ourselves by releasing this. And as we continue to change ourselves change ourselves by allowing ourselves to understand what we're experiencing and holding that space as we are on that move towards ascending and also rebuilding ourselves, because this is a part of rebuilding. And as we're rebuilding ourselves, we're also rebuilding a conscious community. It all has to start from steps that we take and make within ourselves. So things may look like and appear as if it's falling apart, but it is not falling apart. It is actually coming together. And it has to fall apart in order for it to come together. And a part of the falling apart is letting go of the things we say, what we speak, the things we speak and say, and the feelings that go behind it with the belief system. That's the part that we're purging and transmuting out that doesn't serve us. That's all I'm saying. Because the one thing me know, I said this again one more time, they don't talk about that stuff on the other side. That's all I know. So you know what? Hallelujah. I'm saying it on this side either. Okay? And that's my choice. So anyway, I am going to catch up with some stuff that I have not spoken of in a very, very long time. Some reports. But before I do that, I have a video that I'm going to share that was led to me. This is another twin flame teacher who's she's kind of just started making videos, and I like her videos. They're very informative, straight to the point, and I resonate with her, as one would say. I resonate with her right now because she's attuned to the energies, and also I like the way she delivers her messages also. That's one thing I like about her, how she delivers her messages. Okay, her name is Christabel Jessica, and the title of her YouTube channel is Christabel Jessica. I meant to say the title of her video is Twin Flame Energy Reading, September 26th through October 2nd, Divine Feminine. Feel Your Rage. What a title. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a confirmation that I was really releasing the rage that I had within me with how I was treated in the past life, and what carried me into this life, where this constant rescuing and pulling on my energies to helping others. And I'm saying, how come everybody else is making money with their gifts, but I'm not, and I said, something's wrong with that picture. So, and it's not that I didn't have an issue with manifesting money into my life, but this had to do with the spiritual gifts that I have, so I'm not talking about my other talents, because, the medical billing really pays well for me. But the aspect of the spiritual side, that's the part that was really imbalanced, and also with me taking back my power, because it's like I'm, when you give and give and give, you become what? Empty. Something's depleted. Anything that we do for each other also, I just want to touch on this also again, when it comes to divine partnerships. And the divine partnerships is not just to do with your divine partnership with your lover. I'm talking divine business partnerships as well. And everything is should be like an even exchange. So whether or not the person pays you, or if the person agrees that they will give a gift of their own to you and you give to them, that is what is called an exchange of energy, and you allow it to become fair for you and fair for the other person. If you don't feel right within yourself with what you're doing for someone and you feel resentful, that means that is something for you to make an assessment, an evaluation, and ask yourself, what is it about me that I'm not honoring? And you come back into that space of honoring yourself. and honoring the other person as to how they're feeling, to make sure that it's fair for them too, that it's fair for the both of you or the three of you, whichever number of people there are involved in this partnership with one another. And it could be any type of partnership. It could be even those who are helping those through their awakening and ascension and whatever. It does take a lot to read for others, and it takes a lot when you're going through your own stuff and someone else has their stuff and you probably want your stuff with yours. It reminds me of George Carlin when he talks about people that collect stuff, and all of a sudden you have all this stuff and you take that old stuff with you to the new place with more stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about. And please honor the person for what they feel is fair for them, as they're being fair to you. It becomes an even exchange. And when you do that, that is an aspect of you taking back your power. It is, especially for the feminine. And yes, it's important to express yourself. There's some of you who do not express yourself. You do not speak your truth. You're afraid to speak your truth. Or if you're speaking your truth, you feel like as if, that you're going to lose people because you speak your truth. No, I tell you, there's a saying, as the door closes, God opens another window. There is no such thing as losing anything or losing someone. Sometimes people will end up stepping to the side and come out of your life temporarily, and it might be permanently, but nothing's really permanent. It's temporary. There is no such thing as a loss. That is just a perception. That's just something that you might perceive it as such, but it is not so. For God so loved the world that he gave us ourselves, that we shall not perish but have everlasting life. Okay? And so it is. So I'm going to play this video by Christabel Jessica. Thank you, Christabel. And all she says, I know her description are not long like mine. Everything for me is details. And hers, it says, divine feminine, feel your rage. All right.
Hello beautiful souls, it's Christabel here, and today I have a weekly reading for you regarding the twin flame experience. And I use the word twin flame loosely. To me, I think of it more as just the merging between the divine feminine and masculine, and this can come in the form of many types of relationships and many types of soul connections. But twin flame is just a label that we tend to use, so I use it, but I don't really I think this is directed to twin flames. So usually with these weekly readings, I will probably be doing it more based on the astrological influences that we are experiencing in that week. But for this one, I have more of a direct message to the divine feminine. And again, this channel isn't just for the divine feminine energies. It is for everybody, not just twin flames, not just divine feminines. It's for everybody. But for this video, I have a message for you, the divine feminine. I have a clarion call, and that is to feel your rage. And you might not know what I mean by that, but I will unpack it more in this video. So the divine feminine essence for a long time, going back in history, has been repressed, has been put down, has been abused, and we still have a lot of rage that we have not yet been able to feel. For a long time, we didn't have the space held for us to be able to do it. And now we can. This is the point in history that we can start to unpack all of the wounding that has been done to us, and we can transmute it. For you to understand what I'm talking about in more detail, I will put a link here for a video I've just put up about the divine feminine and divine masculine wounding. That will help you to understand more of what I'm talking about. And I also just want to put out there as well that this isn't about anger towards the divine masculine. It's not about hating them and blaming them and putting all of this on them, because although a lot of the abuse that is being caused has been directed from the divine masculine, we have to remember that that was not the divine masculine in balance. That wasn't the divine masculine in their empowered state. That was the divine masculine that was running from their shadow aspects. And now it is time to transmute all that has been done so we can heal ourselves, and we can provide healing for the divine masculine at the same time, and we can come back into unity together to be balanced, to be in power side by side. There is a tendency within the spiritual community to try and cling to the light, to try and think positive and, law of attraction, blah, blah, blah. But when you are in the space of feeling your anger, feeling your deep-rooted rage, this is a form of light work. Because what you are doing when you walk the shadow is you're burning off all of the damage that has been done to the divine feminine as a collective, and you are allowing that to be transmuted so that we can create a beautiful new reality and kind of clean the slate so we can start again. And I don't know if you can hear the crow in the background, but I think he is agreeing with us and adding to this power. Okay, so rage is actually a part of the divine feminine. It is a part that we have lost touch with, but just think about protective mama bears that will do anything to protect their children. This comes from a place of divine feminine in their power, being able to tap into the power that comes with feeling our rage and feeling our anger. Now, when I say this, I don't mean in an abusive way or feeling our anger and projecting it onto others and being pissed off at someone and not treating them right. I just mean being able to allow this rage to bubble up within you and allow yourself to feel it. It will start out being uncomfortable, but it actually is kind of weirdly a good feeling when you get used to it. And I've done this quite a lot recently. I have definitely become a shadow walker and embraced going into the shadow realms. And it is a very different feeling to allowing yourself to sit with your sadness. It is almost like this feeling of bubbling up of power that comes with this. I also just want to add that we allow this to bubble up and allow ourselves to feel this, not so that we can live there, not so that we can go on this rampage for the rest of our lives, being angry at everyone and being some psychotic person, just being angry every day. That is kind of the opposite point of this. It is to help us to really get in and feel that pain and trauma and rage and anger that is sitting there under the surface, so that we can feel it and we can transmute it, so that ultimately we can move on to a place of more peace, and we won't have, sometimes you can kind of feel that bit of anger and it comes out in a kind of passive aggressive way, or in a way that we're not really allowing ourselves to feel it. This can really help us to remove some of these behaviors. And when we do this work, we are helping ourselves as individuals, we are helping ourselves in this lifetime, we are helping ourselves as a soul, all the trauma that we have experienced in the past. We're also doing this for the women of the past. We're doing this for our ancestors, all the women in Earth's history that have ever been persecuted, who have ever been abused, who have ever been put down on. We are doing it for them because they never got the chance to do this, and now we do. So as we do it for ourselves, we're also doing it for them, because as we heal the collective. What we heal within us heals everyone, and it also heals our entire ancestral lineage as well. I pulled some cards to give us a bit more clarity on this topic as well, but before I do that, I just want to give you some ideas on how to actually allow this process to occur. First thing is, I'm going to put a link here to a video I have on shadow work that will help you to understand how to do this. But also, how we do this is just through allowing the mirroring process of life, any situation that we're in, any relationship, any interaction. This triggers to us these old emotions that are sitting behind the surface, It triggers to us any of the wounds that we have that we haven't faced yet. Any aspect of us that we haven't seen or haven't met or haven't tapped into is mirrored to us every day. So when you find a situation you're in is triggering anger in you, what you do is set the intention to allow yourself to feel that later. So I know you can't always just do it if you're at work or if you're with your kids or you're out with someone. You can't always just go into that rage right there. But you let that feeling sort of indicate to you what is sitting there. And when you are in the space of being able to, you really allow that feeling to come out and to grow. Just also, you might find you'll get some like physical symptoms of this. For me, when this happened, I had all of these pimples break out in places that I don't usually get them. It was intense. It was almost like I could literally see the rage come out. And also, for me, I used to have extremely painful periods when I was younger, but with a lot of the healing work I've done, that has calmed down. But when I'm in this state, I actually get the painful periods back, and that just shows me again that rage that is actually coming out even physically. So this is maybe a way that can indicate to you that you are doing this process, is any physical symptoms that come up, not just emotional. When you're not used to allowing yourself to feel this sort of stuff, even if it's not rage, just any emotion, sadness, any trauma or pain that you've experienced, it can be a bit awkward at first because you're not really sure how to allow yourself to feel. But just know as you practice, it will get easier. So really, it doesn't take a lot to allow yourself to feel it. It can be confronting and difficult at first because as a society, we're just so out of touch with our emotions and our feelings. But ways you can do this is, when you're feeling that feeling, instead of going straight towards your usual coping mechanisms that you have, whether that be going out and getting drunk or eating chocolate or putting on Netflix or just anything that you would usually do to distract yourself from feeling, you don't do any of that. You don't have any distractions. You just don't run from the pain. It is difficult at first, I know, but it does get easier. And when you are getting more experienced at being a shadow walker, you will know that it does pass, and the easiest way out of the pain is to just feel it and then move on from it. Once you've transmuted it, you will know that after the shadow walking comes this period of lightness. After that pain you felt, you can tell that it's gone. It's like another layer has been removed off you. And there's this period of time where you just feel freer and you feel lighter. And that does make it easier once you've experienced that lightness. Some physical processes you can use to do this are going for a drive somewhere, sitting in your car, or like going to the beach or somewhere in nature and screaming, literally letting the rage out. Or you can break plates, you can go out somewhere and just literally throw stuff. Or you can journal. This is a really, really great way of getting out any stuck emotions, especially when you're not sure what you're feeling. So you just start by writing, I am feeling, and you can just write something such as good or bad or angry, and that just gets you going and helps those feelings come out. So at first you're like, I don't know what I'm going to write, but just writing, I am feeling shitty, gets you started so that it can all start tumbling out. And you will be surprised. You'll go, holy crap, I've got this whole page of stuff. I didn't even know I was feeling that way. So not only does it help you figure out how you're feeling, but it's also getting it out at the same time. If you follow the goddess tradition, some goddesses you can work with for this are Kali. She is an amazing one for this, and so is Sekhmet. So those are two that you can work with while dealing with all this. So, I'm just looking at the cards. I always pull cards in a different way, and this time I I had 2 different decks and I split them up into 3s. And this is something I've never done before. I actually felt guided to like flip each side. So let's just, like, this is one of the splits. And then I felt like flipping each one over as well to look what was on the other side. So that was a new process for me. The thing I like about oracle cards and tarot cards is there's never a right or wrong way of doing it. You just do it how you feel in that moment, and it can be pretty cool to follow your intuition and just do something different each time. First thing is, though, for these cards, I just love that they're all 4s. So that just shows me that we are getting a lot of confirmation from the angels that this is definitely the greatest form of light work that we can all be doing right now. I'm doing this all the time lately, but just so you know, the next clip, I forgot to have my microphone plugged in, so I'm sorry that the sound quality all of a sudden goes crap. And after looking at the other side for each of them, I'm really liking the message behind each little set here, because they really do link back to the twin flame experience. So even though this video I've talked about the divine feminine and what we need to do, it just shows me the link that this process has to the twin flame relationship. So I'm going to start off with the one I already kind of showed you. So heart chakra. And on the other side, this just shows me, hello twin flames, or conscious relationships, or you and your divine counterpart. So this is really going to help bridge the 2 aspects of the twin flame relationship, the divine feminine and divine masculine. This is really going to help bridge that heart chakra, the 2 heart chakras together, and it's going to help close that gap and provide some balance. So all this healing work is actually contributing to helping you get into union with the divine counterpart. This one here, to me, just shows what I'm talking about with the mirroring process and allowing yourself to really see yourself and allowing yourself to feel the rage. That's what this shows me. It's like you are actually holding space for yourself to allow all of this to come to life. And if you do this mirroring process and allow yourself to feel the rage and hold the space for yourself, it is going to bring new vitality into your life. This is a confirmation of what I was saying about once you've done your shadow work, it brings lightness, it brings new into your life. And this again shows me that it is linked to the twin flame experience by allowing yourself to feel our rage. This card here. Okay, so this shows me a woman holding space for herself. And you see how there's like a lot of like red and orange and yellowy colors there? That to me shows the rage that's bubbling up within her. And I feel that a lot of us divine feminines that are holding space for awakening sleeper divine masculine, we are tending to feel a lot of anger and rage and a lot of tiredness around holding space for them. It's kind of like, okay, I know what you're doing and I appreciate what you're doing, but I need something for me and I'm getting tired of holding space. So allow that to trigger anger. Allow that to trigger rage within you, and allow yourself to open up to the rage you're feeling about holding space for someone else all the time. And this just shows me that in their way, the divine masculine is holding space for us. So they are, in their own way, holding space for us to allow this rage to come out. It's almost like them sleeping and, bringing up these feelings within us is holding space for us, because without that, we wouldn't have had the experience to feel the rage in the first place. So this is a show of love. This is a gesture. This is the divine masculine holding space for us. Okay, so moving on to the next deck that I have the 3 lots of 2-sided cards. I love this one. This is one of my favorite cards. So allowing yourself to do this process is another chance for you to have death and rebirth. It's another chance for you to have destruction and totally obliviate parts of your being and persona that aren't really you, and to reconstruct something new. And this process of death and rebirth, like I said earlier, brings new vitality, brings beauty, brings lightness into your life. This is just kind of like to give you hope that it's not all bad, it's not all the crap stuff. It is leading us to joy, it is leading us to peace, it is leading us to beauty, I promise. Stick out, you can do it. I know when you're experiencing it, it just feels like, oh, just more crap. When is this ever going to finish? But it does lead us to something better. And this is like confirmation of that again. Crisis. Now this chick looks pissed off, doesn't she? That's what you need to become. You need to allow the crisis to enter your life. You need to allow yourself to become this pissed off woman. And it will lead again to new vitality, to new beauty, to new energy. It is definitely a confirmation to us to allow ourselves to rebirth. See how she's pretty much gestating herself? This will bring us to new realities and just newness into our life, full stop. Yes, and this is a lovely one to end on because it pretty much sums up the entire video. This is what you need to be right now. See this woman, the feelings and emotions. This is what you need to do. You need to stand in your strength and allow your fire to burn and hold space for yourself in strength. And then it will lead you closer to being that beautiful divine feminine essence aspect of the twin flame or soulful connection that you want to seek into your life in a beautiful big way, full of joy, full of peace. You want to be this woman. Look at her. Allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to be this woman will allow you to become this woman. And I think that sums this up beautifully, and I hope that you heed this clarion call and you do allow yourself to start tapping into what I've talked into here. And if you do, please let me know how you go. I am here for you. I'm here to send you lots of love and energy. I'm here to be support. And I really would love if you could tell me how you're going on your journey. I would really love to hear how things are going for you. So please comment. I would love to connect with you all. And we can do this together. Even though a lot of us have to do it alone right now, away from our divine counterpart, that doesn't mean that we can't be there for each other. Let's get back to sisterhood. Let's get back to being a circle of sisters supporting each other, and this will be a much easier journey. So I want to be that for you. Let's start a sisterhood. That can be the other clarion call. Let's start a sisterhood. All right, guys. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I look forward to connecting with you again. See ya. That both of you are.
And that is what I agree with on her so much that I've spoken about is the sisterhood. And the sisterhood is about how we work together, as especially for, the feminine twins, because I know some of us are going through it, the difficulties in relating to one another, because not all of our ascension experiences and awakening experiences are the same. They're all different. And we don't have to do it alone. And there's no need to think that one person's aspect of how they do things is the only way. To doing it together, it's like it helps to give you strength and to build on it. And that part of building on this strength that we can have with each other collectively is what also helps to build a conscious community. It's not about having things exclusive or being exclusive with whatever information you have or the support that you can give to one another. We all have keys and codes to helping and assisting with each other with our awakening. And it's important that I want you to understand that. I really want you to understand that. And this is why I am very much strongly into the energy of working together for those who are interested in working together. I even had heard that Shamama Owl, that she have formed a twin flame page on Facebook for those who are interested in a support group or a group setting, or whether individually together or collectively is fine. You know, make it your choice, but just know that you're not alone on this path. This is not about thinking that you have to do it all by yourself. And I know there's some who stay away from Facebook and other pages, but let me tell you something, okay? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you food for thought. When you allow yourself to connect to others in other ways, you're also unlocking more codes and keys within yourself that you might get information that might help you with on your path. You never know, you might hear someone or see someone talking about their stories and you relate to it and you end up helping that person. That is how we work together communicatingly and communicatively, okay? There's communication and there's also as a community type of setting. Even if you're not in the same physical space, we're holding space for those who you can to do this together, so you're not alone on this path. No matter what, we still end up needing each other as we go along the way with this process. It doesn't matter whether you're in union or not either, because like I said, this is not about an exclusive kingdom where one, you know, the kings and queens are ruling each other, different kingdoms here. No, this kingdom of heaven is within ourselves, but we're still working together with building a community, a conscious community. And that means that you're bringing yourself into a space of working together. You start practicing it now with your brothers and sisters. It doesn't even have to be just a sisterhood. It could be a brother and a sisterhood. No more separation. No more separation. And as we do this, we're setting examples not only for ourselves, but for our children and for the rest of your community. And then it goes by, I would say, the villages. Then it extends out to counties, to states, to countries, and the whole entire world. Do you see? That's the effect that you will have on another when we work together. When we work together. But when you separate yourself, you don't know what you might be missing. That's all I'm saying. There's always it's either one way or the other. It's either you're working with bringing it together, or you start out missing stuff, and then the dissing starts, and the dissing becomes some parts of missing, and that's what it turns out to be. You see? And that is like an old way of thinking. It's an old way of thinking. And so this is another aspect of building a conscious community and being conscious of one another, honoring each other's space as well. That's also important. So I also wanted to, as I'm speaking of that, I wanted to really, really thank some people, some angels, I should say, some conscious, I should say, others who have reached out to me to help me through this process, you know, because like I said, you never know when it hits you when you're going through this. And I appreciate all the love that I received. As a matter of fact, you know, there are those who know me very closely know that I'm always up till the wee hours of the morning. I mean, sometimes I don't go to sleep till like 9, 10 a.m. because the energy level within me is extremely high. It's been that way for a very long time. I just don't sleep that much. And if I do sleep, when the time comes, my spirit will have me sleeping, and it's like I'm integrating all of the energies. And so with my journey and my path is quite different, and it's because I'm collecting the data. I'm collecting all this data. These segments that are out there are not just for me just talking and that's it. It's a part of this book. This book is called The Return of the Garden of Eden. This is like your hearing mechanism to how we come back to ourselves, to how we come back to wholeness, because that's what the objective is we come back to wholeness, not wholeness separateness. We're already separated. Now we're coming back to wholeness. And it doesn't mean that we're going to lose sight of ourselves or lose sight of who we are. No, you're still going to maintain your own identity within you. There's nothing to lose here. It's just more to gain. Let me tell you something. I'm always in more joy when I'm in a group setting. And of course, there's time when I don't want to be around anybody. But you know what's so funny with my personality and energy is that it's so rare that I'm alone. Very rare, because there's always something vibrating towards me. Something more and more and more. There's always, or someone or something or someone, or an animal or a child or something. But I'm just never alone. And it's not that I remember when I had a conversation with Archangel Gabriel, that was a channeling through Karen Cook, and he said to me, you know what, Sharon, you know what's so funny is that there's those people who, before they die, they said they can't wait till when they leave, because they're gonna be away from people and they don't have to deal with people. And he says the funny thing is that when they cross over to my side, he said, there's more people. So you cannot get away from this. You cannot run away from yourself. When you block someone, unfriend, block, whatever, push away, turn them off. When I say turn them off, like, you turn off the whatever contact that you're getting from them, because it's still going to come to get you, or if you're deactivating, whatever. There's that part of you to face. But when you can face it head on like a bull and you don't cut yourself off, you're becoming mighty stronger within yourself. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of power. And that power is within you. And so this is how we're going to be directing the power within ourselves to build a conscious community. And that means that we're not going to disempower our sisters or our brothers. We're not going to put the males down anymore. We're not going to say that, I don't need a man in order for me to do this or to be this. Or I don't need a man, in order to have my, whatever the case may be. Those are the old ways of thinking. And then we don't disempower our sisters by competing against one another, or trying to outdo the other, or say, or say that, I want to go try to take her man away from her. Nobody can take anybody away. Nobody's property here. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these different old ways of thinking and doing things is what's changing. We're rebuilding a conscious community where we are honoring each other, even and including with the relationships that we have. Not deliberately going out there. One of my sisters, it was so sad when I found out that someone deliberately sent an email pretending to be her twin and saying that they're not a twin and all kind of stuff. And of course, there would be anything to devastate. And I tuned into it because I can see right through people. I can feel the energy. And when I hear, I can't begin to tell you how many people that I read or have read, and they say, God, you really just see right through it. Yes, I see right through it. And I knew that it was something of a lie. But of course, when we go internally to it, it always comes to our truth within ourselves. Like, how much are you staying true within yourself and knowing who you are? Because when that I am presence comes into play, it's powerful. Because as soon as you declare and say I am, the I am notness is going to come up into your space. And so when that happens, it's like the more you say I am and the more you empower yourself with I am, goddess of love, and I am love, and I am joy, I am strength, I am wisdom, I am beautiful, I am a twin flame. And then all of a sudden, the opposite of that comes into your space. On your purpose. On your purpose. Because you're on a divine purpose. It is a part of you that longs to know itself by experiencing the opposite of itself. Yes. It's a game. It's a joyful game. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands, and come before his and her presence with singing and praise. Because we are showing up in the greatest, grandest versions of ourselves through these experiences. So no more disempowering and no more dissing. If anything, we're doing the opposite now. We're empowering each other. We're lifting each other up, not pulling each other down. And even if someone says something against you, as Yeshua said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Doesn't mean that you allow anyone to speak to you any way they feel like it. In some cases, you turn the other cheek. In some cases, you have to tell them about them bomba clot. Okay? Tell their asses off, and then you let it out, and you move on. That's it. Don't keep it inside of you, because that hurts you. Speak it out. Speak your truth. Don't let anyone tell you what you shouldn't say or not say. Because you know what? The person who you really go against when you don't speak your truth is you go against yourself. That's it. It might feel bad, of course it does. You know, when someone cuts you off or they're not understanding you. But you know what? There comes a point where it's not even your business anymore. You just leave them where they're at. You leave them where they're at. Sometimes you got to leave people where they're at their level of consciousness. Because you know what? God has shown me that anything that appears as if it's taken away, it is replaced again in another form or another way through someone else, some other aspect. And sometimes they still come back. Most of the time they do. Or the event comes back in another way, in a better way. I told you my story of a young lady when she didn't want to hear what I had to say. She was cutting me off. And she wasn't remembered the Sharon that she knew. That's the funny thing, you know, is like the ones who know me, I did say that, the ones who know me for the longest, they don't seem to quite want to know, you know, the changes and to understand. The ones who are like more strangers, they understand. But that's the way how it goes sometimes, you know, the pendulum. But I'm way past really anyone that's known me the longest while, because you know what? There are more and more and more and more people that are in coming in my direction, even exactly like what I dreamt. And it's like we're on a trek. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you remember that movie. I think it was called Race, something, Rat Race, I think it was. And oh my God, Whoopi Goldberg stars in it. And they were all after the same thing, you know, and they were on a race here. So we're on a race, but it's a different type of race. It's the human race, actually, Spirit says. The human race to love. The funny thing is that you don't have to physically be in this race. You're already in it. You're a part of it because it's you. It's a natural thing. You know, it's not unnatural, it's natural. If only you could just remember that. Just to remember that every time you come to a space of fear, remember you can always jump back on the bandwagon back to love. That's all. And as you remember more and more of yourself as this love, your journey becomes easier and you start to feel lighter. And as you start to feel lighter, you start to build on this light energy that is with you. This light energy that is with you is what is an aspect of the Christ consciousness. I do speak of the Christ consciousness. You know what is so wonderful is that when you remember that and you come back to that space, because that's what happens once you transmute whatever you've been experiencing, is that you come back to that space and guess what? You're up another notch again. Oh yes. Didn't you know that? But you are. So and then when you go up another notch, then you're grounding in that energy and that frequency of what you have just transmuted. So in other words, you start to lift up, you start to feel lifted up and lighter within yourself. Then you anchor it in, and then you come back down, and then something else anchors in within you, and that is more light. The more light that you have allowed to come back to you from that space of darkness where you were before. And so it becomes like an engine, chugga, 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 chugga. And then it starts to build up and build up and build up, and you then start to become solid, grounded. That's why the feminine is what's grounding and bringing it down, bringing it down to earth. Because we're bringing that spiritual aspect of ourselves, including the gifts that we have from all of the planets that we came from. So it's a matter of anchoring it down. That's why that dream I had where the ships landed, and the big ship landed, so many meanings to that dream. And when the ship came down, I ran a little bit, and I stopped, and I said, wait a minute. I said, I told you, I knew it was going to happen. And then in the dream, there were other ships that were coming down, smaller ships. And then people were running. They were all scared and everything like that. And then they started running, and they were running behind me like, oh, they didn't know what to do because they didn't understand. So when you allow yourself to understand everything, and you might say, but there's too much to understand. There's not enough time. Yes, you have enough time. Allow it, because most of the things that is for you to understand is within you, and that is what empowerment is. It's not where we're back in the day, as one would say, where we're spoon feeding and constantly like we're in school. It's not a school. We're not in school. It's just something to come and pull out within you as a memory. And this is how we light the way for each other, lighting those lamps now, I tell you. Okay, lighting the way. And as we light the way, we open the doors to bringing in this Christed energy and become like the Christ. Okay? And this is what brings us closer and closer as the central sun is coming closer and closer towards the earth. As our bodies start to change and we start to become lighter and lighter and lighter. There's so much to understand about this process. So I'm going to be reading articles to do with that too. So before I get to that, I want to really give thanks to those who have reached out to me with so much outpouring of love. My heart, I cannot begin to tell you where my heart has been through all of this. In everything that I felt, even my children, boy, did they step up to the plate yesterday. And usually every Sunday we form a circle and we pray before we eat, and our prayers are prayers of thankfulness. That's it. Prayers of thankfulness. Prayers of thankfulness is not where we hope something's going to happen. We're thanking Mother God and Father God for what is happening and has happened. The more we give thanks, the more we receive. And the main thing that my children prayed and thanked God for was for me as their mother, and for cooking the dinner, because they love my cooking, even though that's not one of my, it's 333 right now. Ascended masters, and all is well, and everything's in divine order, and I'm in alignment here with everything, with what I'm saying, doing, and being. And so they thank God for the meal that I prepared, and they thank God for me, and they thank God for us being as a family, and also for the divine protection that is surrounding us with everything in all aspects of our lives. And I also put prayers out there for us, for all of us, as we are trekking on this path, like we're, Indiana Jones, or, I remember I used to read this book growing up, Nancy Drew Mysteries, and she was always on a mystery hunt or a mystery something, But whatever it is that is a mystery, it still comes to light, It still comes to light. Everything comes to light after a while. And even if it doesn't, it's okay. There are some things that we will see while we're in the dark. So we will see things in the dark, like the real physical darkness. And then there's some things we see while we're in the dark where we're, well, as I would say, in a state of ignorance. Because in a state of ignorance is also in a dark place. That's also being in a dark place. Being in a dark place doesn't make it bad. Helen Keller was in a dark place. She was in a dark place in two different aspects. She was in a dark place with being angry also. She was angry. She was infuriated at her circumstances. She couldn't see and she couldn't hear. She was in the dark completely. And still she brought herself back to the light. She transmuted her own anger and her fears and everything. Right? And she became a writer. She was an author. She also helped other people to get out of their darkness too. You see what I'm saying? That was her transmutation. And so we all have different ways that we will see things. So it's okay. You know, I know that there's some who tried reaching out to others to try to get them to see the light, as one would say. But it's okay. It's in due time. Because if we were all seeing the light at the same time, then guess what? It'd be so boring, wouldn't it? It would be rather boring. I would say so. So, you know, God just loves to have the excitement. We love the excitement too. It's not just the bigger aspect of God. It's also the microcosmic aspect of God as gods and goddesses that we are. There's some of us that say, I don't like excitement. I like the boredom of this. I like the slow, dragging, monotonous way of doing this. That's okay too. God, you're so slow. God, you're too fast. Oh, you're so stupid the way you do this. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're intelligent. You're brilliant. Oh, you are a dummy. I just love the way we are. But you know what? It's okay. I wanted to bring some humor into it. I'm also have some humor that comes back to me now and then. So I want to give thanks from my heart to Laura. Laura, I love you, Laura. She has been one of my, oh my God, what do I call you? You are like in alignment with me as my sister, a fan, resonating, aligning, all these things with me at the same time. And I so appreciate your love and also your kind words to me, that you left me a message on the segment that I put out this morning. And you know, and to be so honest with you, I didn't plan it. I didn't just in my mind say, oh gee, I'm going to do a segment today. It's just the spirit moved me because I said I had to talk about it. I had to let it out. And I was really in all honesty, I was cleaning my bathroom. If anybody noticed hearing the squeaky sound, I was cleaning in my bathroom. And so with cleaning in my bathroom, I was still doing something. I was in movement with my body. So, and I was walking up and down the house being angry too, you know, and frustrated and say, but at that moment when I was recording though, I was in my bathroom cleaning my bathroom and playing the music in the background because the music was helping me. See, the music was helping me to also transmute the energy. And I decided to play gospel because I kept hearing Spirit singing the song, which I love. That song is Eyes on the Sparrow. I love that song. I love Whitney Houston's rendition of it when she sings it. My Eyes on the Sparrow. I love it. And when I heard the song, that's when I started to cry even more because I knew the Spirit of the Lord was moving through me and inspiring me and also giving me messages of hope. You know, and that is the promise that not, you know, because I spoke about that God promised me and I made my promises. We all made promises to God. We agreed, you know, the wonderful, brilliant souls that we are. And some of us agreed to go through the deepest, darkest places, which I'm one of them, you know. And I often ask myself, why did you do this? Why, you know? And the answer that always comes back to me all the time is because of how much I love you. And you say you, who you? All of you. I love you with all my heart and soul. I don't place any one more than the other with this love that I have, and it's expansive. When I had that experience of traveling out of my body and I ascended up to the stars, and I saw all these stars and that love that I felt for each soul. And I said, oh my God, everybody is these stars. You are all the stars in the universe and the cosmos. And the only thing that existed in that, it must have been no more than, oh my God, like 5 minutes. And I was back in my body and I was like, oh, like that. And I was like, oh my God, what an awesome experience. And that experience only happened once for me. And God had me go through that experience because I was to remember even more about love, that we are love. There wasn't anything in that space. No arguing, no fussing, no, oh, I gotta eat food today. Oh, who's eating that? Who's doing this? What did this person say? Oh, look at this bitch. Look at this, the name calling. None of this. None of that existed to that realm of where I took myself. And I can say I took myself there. And Yeshua was with me at that time when it happened. And I saw the moon and the sun. That was mother and father. And we are his and her children and the sheep of his pasture. You see? And so the love is what I agreed to bring it down. I brought it down here. And of course, I had to go through a rapid acceleration of not only remembering myself as the love and bringing it here, but also to disintegrate it and to integrate it again, you know? It's like rebuilding and building, rebuilding and building, cracking things wide open here. So I just wanted to say that, and again I thank Laura for her kind words to me this morning. So do I appreciate it. So Laura says, I hear you, I respect and acknowledge you. I support you, I love you and your Ivan so very much. We are almost home, dear sister. And her hashtags was MLE and LGK forever, speak true, fearless love, twin flame reunion. And that is so sweet. I also want to thank Lori also for her love and support for both me and Sanja yesterday. That was really rough. I mean, it's like we were both broken at the same time, and even during the course of what I was going through, I was still tuning into what Sanja was experiencing, and Lori was like, no, just focus on you, Sharon. I was like, well, it's too late, because, you know, it's like I was even angry because I was like, I'm programmed even within myself to still want to help no matter what, with what anyone's going through, because I just don't like to know that anyone else is sad, you know, and or they're going through something difficult, and especially when it's hard and it involves someone else doing something deliberately to hurt the person, because I'm feeling it too. You know, I'm feeling the pain also. So, you know, I couldn't help it. And then even that part of me was like, you know, like, God, I just can't stop myself. I still, you know, automatically, I even had said I don't want to record anymore. I don't want to do anything anymore. Nothing. And then I just went right into it again. So that's the higher self, you know, my higher self has taken over the reins for quite a while now. And there's no stopping that either. You know, once you are surrendered to yourself, to God, that's it. That's it. The reign has been taken over. So I wanted to give thanks to Lori also, and really let her know how much I appreciate her reaching out to me. Also, she helped me a lot as well by interacting with me. And she was the first one to say to me, Sharon, she said I was purging for a lot of what the feminine has gone through, and also mothers. And it's so true, because in the beginning stage of my awakening, I should say, when I say beginning stage, I'm talking about when it started accelerating at a faster, hard rate. I was actually assisting hundreds of millions of mothers who were sold to slavery, separated from their children and their husbands, raped, mutilated, burned, buried alive. And so the main theme for me yesterday was purging through the anger of being enslaved during the course of history as a Black woman, and also just as being just a female, and also children that were taken away from me. I remember when I had my first past life regression, and I used to feel like I was suffocating with my oldest son's father. And I used to wonder, why was I feeling like I was suffocating? And when I had the past life regression while I was pregnant with my son, Brandon, I had a memory that came back to me that I was buried alive. And that's what had happened. I was buried alive. And he had taken away all of my children. And so that was another built up anger, as children that were taken away from me. And, and also I was feeling it for all the mothers. You cannot imagine what that's like. I mean, it's like feeling that feeling for all the females that have gone through these experiences. And we have to understand that it's not just those who hold that female body in this lifetime. There's also our divine masculines who have been females before, and they're feeling that pain too. They're feeling it too. So it's doubled, tripled. And not only are we feeling it, or was I feeling it, in one lifetime, it's several lifetimes with hundreds of millions of souls. And so that's why I knew how hard it was with what I was experiencing. It was so painful. And also the pain of not being acknowledged for things that were created. Things that were created by us. And especially for our colored folks who had not been acknowledged for the gifts that we've had. We have been creating so much throughout human history for centuries, and people have tried to take credit for it, which has not been right. Killed over it, and even deceived over it. People have you sign papers and you're duped into it, and it's all those type of energies. And then also, on another note too, there's a lot of mothers out there who have been disrespected by their children, and of course it has been allowed. And so throughout generations, things have changed throughout time and history to how we have raised our children, and the parenting. So, I know there's not too many people talking about parenting, but I'm here to also talk about divine parenting. I have my segments on that too, so I'm coming back to it now again. Divine parenting is very important when it comes to building a conscious community. And so our children are not to be ignored either. They are to be acknowledged as well. They have great gifts to share for each and every one of us, because they hold keys and codes as well. That's right. So pay attention to what comes, especially for children who are the age of 7 and under, because up until the age of 7, the memory of the other side is there with the child most strongest. It's after that age, that's when things start spiraling into what is forced upon the child for whatever they're to learn from their parents or their grandparents, school, religions, all these things. And that is what creates the energy of what the child has learned and what has become a learned behavior that also goes along in conjunction to the personality. So it's important for our children to also understand what is happening on the planet, to have these discussions with them. I talk to my children about everything. There is nothing or no reason for you not to be talking about things to do with your children. Talking to your children, okay, whether it's a child that you've given birth to, or a biological child, or a child that you've adopted, or someone else's child, it's important for them to know and to be aware of what is happening, because of the fact that they play a very major key role when it comes to your union, especially for those twin flames. Your children or your twins' children play a very major role when it comes to your ascension process. And it is because there's a connection that they have to you and your twin from past lives. And it has to do with the spiritual DNA, that frequency that's there between you and your twin, and also with holding things together to do with your soul group, okay? Because we are in this as a group together. Whether some have, ventured off into another aspect, they're still connected to us. You don't have to always necessarily be in physical contact with someone in order to feel the connection between you and them. You can even work from a space of healing with those who have separated from you. You can, and it works, okay? It does work. Because for you to say, oh, I'm cutting them off, and I don't have time for this shit, and whatever, guess what? An aspect of them is still going to show up. It's still going to show up. Okay? It always does. It always does. And so that's the reason why it's important to understand how we hold a space of love, forgiveness, working with it, wisdom and understanding. And as you are being that, it is demonstrated with your children also seeing that, because you see, we're developing a new earth and a new world to existence, and the children are included. I am very much of an advocate when it comes to children and how they play a major role, and they are not to be forgotten and dismissed either. They are not to be dismissed. They're to be just as much honored and acknowledged just as much as I am, and you too. Even my little grandson, when he's just being himself and just, just the way how he is. It's like, even when I go back and look at the videos of him, I just start to smile. And I say, just look at him. He's just in his own confidence at 1 year old and just doing his thing, and he's like the boss in his own way, and he already comes across in a display that you can't tell him what to do. And even if you try, and he knows me without saying or doing anything. And he knows how to, when he communicates and how he behaves towards each person. And with me, he knows that, as one would say, homie, don't play that, right? And it's like, I had to share this joke because it was so hilarious. When he stayed with me last weekend, an overnight, and he woke up, and he's a total opposite to how my oldest son was. Oh my God, total opposite. And when he woke up, he actually was a little annoyed because I have the ability to tune into thoughts and consciousness of children and animals, pets, everything. And I could feel him saying, oh, I'm not at home with my parents. What is this? Because I guess he probably thought when he fell asleep that he'll wake up and he'll be in his own bed. Like, reminds me of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So he wakes up and he's looking at the ceiling and he's so quiet because, oh my God, I was not used to that with my oldest son and mother. It's like they wake up and you better get that food ready because that bottle just fall out the ceiling. I used to say, I breastfeed them, give them everything, and it was still not enough. And so, but when Remy wakes up, oh my God, what a difference in having a baby like that, I may not have given birth to him, but he definitely was my child. As a matter of fact, he was my child and Ivan's child in the past life. I already know that. And he wakes up and he's looking at the ceiling and he's tapping his fingers. It reminds me of Jurassic Park when one of the dinosaur, when he's just like he was getting impatient, and that's what he was doing. I was like, I cannot believe this 1-year-old child is doing this. I was like, who the heck he think he is? Like he was just like saying he's impatient with it because he didn't have time for this. Like, you know, he ain't got time for this, you know. And what he was saying that he don't have time for is because he was like, why am I here? And you know, it's like, I'm there trying to be playful, like, hey, Remy, boo boo. And he's like tapping his finger, like, I don't have time for this. You know, why am I here? So he's so cute. He's so adorable. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because he was just demonstrating his true self, his authentic self. That's why I like kids. That's why I love children, you know, because they're authentic. And this is why so much masks are coming off when it comes to humanity. And humanity, when I say humanity, I'm talking everybody. I don't business what label you call yourself. And so what happens is that this photon belt that is already happening now, and all these full moon, new moons, whatever you want to call it, okay, it's all energy, okay? And I know that we identify with the moons with this energy because it's kind of like having a forewarning. It's like a preview of life's coming events. And the preview is that this photon belt energy is facilitating for us with what we're experiencing with our ascension, with our bodies, our minds, and our souls. And what it's doing is that it's ripping out anything that's fake, false, cannot sustain and hold on to you any longer. And for some, they're not able to handle it because it is really, really, really intense. And then if you are in a state of panic, fear, bitterness, judging, it's going to feel even more painful and weird for you. And then it make you seem like as if you're in hell, a nightmare, you know, and like you can't get out of it, you know, and you just keep going in a circle over and over again, circling around and around. You know, it's just like when you're talking to someone, you're trying to explain something to them, and it's like you're still back to explaining the same thing you just said 10 minutes ago. And you say to them, you know what, we're just going in circles here. Bye, Felicia. Bye. Okay, bye. See you later, alligator. Because, it becomes repetitive, and it's like they're not getting it as to how you may see it. They're not getting it. Them not getting it doesn't mean that you're better than them. Them not getting it as what you call it just means they're not ready, and they're not in that space of being ready and also with understanding. There could become a time when they will. And so the photon belt is what facilitates for things to accelerate even faster. And also it makes it feel like you're ripping off a part of your skin, you know, and it hurts. This is not even ripping the Band-Aid. This is like ripping off something, and then you're like, oh my God, you know? And what happens is when you rip it off and rip it out, you start to become clearer within yourself. And this is where the light comes in, that energy, that light. I had even recorded some conversations that happened between myself and Linda where we're talking about this, because for some people, the perception of the photon belt, and I know there's some who have felt, you know, or had visions that we're going to have earthquakes. So there's two different types of earthquakes happening here, and tsunamis, and all of this. It's the physical one and the spiritual one. And so the spiritual one is the earthquake that's happening within you. You're getting shaken up, really shaken up here. And this is necessary to facilitate the ascension. So I wanted to, you know, point that out to you. And then I wanted to continue with my giving thanks to those who have assisted me yesterday. Mandy, she reached out to me also. I thank you, Mandy, for reaching out to me. She had contacted me this morning, and she had listened to my segment, and she wanted to know she was there for me, and that she wanted me to call her so we can talk, because she said it was time for me to no more self-sacrificing, no more self-sacrificing. And that really was very encouraging for me, and really made me feel good knowing that I was so loved and supported. Is what I say, loved and supported. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. And so she said it's time for us. She says no more self-sacrificing. She says time for us to rise up and live. And she says I love you. So I'm very much appreciating of that. Then I also had contact from my friend Marcia, and she also sent me words of encouragement. She just said that I was in her prayers, and she had no idea what was going on. And so I sent her a voicemail, and I told her about what happened briefly, and that I would send her the segment, because I told her, I said I only have one friend who actually has followed me on YouTube to know what's happening in my life in details. And also it's affecting them too, because they're still a part of my soul group. No matter what, they're not separate from me just because I'm a twin flame. Still a part of me. And so I consider her to be my sister as well as my best friend. And so another friend did sign up, though. I will say I have two friends now who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. And Marcia said, she said, beautiful and well said. You are a powerful, unique, and a strong woman of God. Everything you said was true. While I don't pretend to not understand everything, most of it I understand. Not because I don't get it all does not make me love and care for you any less than when you began your journey. I will not close my friendship with you over this and turn my back on you. We all have to answer to our own ways. I have much love for you. You have been my rock, a shoulder to cry on, a sister that I never had, to share my secrets, to have a belly full of laughter. All this is just another stepping stone to show the world what an amazing, powerful, and wonderful female that you are. Stand strong. So I appreciate her as well for her message of love, and what the truth was for her and how she was relating to me and to my experiences, which also affects her, because there's a cause and effect, and it goes both ways. It goes both ways. So I also wanted to thank someone else who reached out to me. Never heard of her before, but now I know her. And she goes by the name of Ocean Dreamer is her name. She said, sending you all my love and blessings. Dear Sharon, thank you so much for who you are and all you're doing. I listen to all your teachings and wisdom through your channel on YouTube, and absolutely know that it comes from you, a deep place of unconditional love for all beings in this universe. I also hear you, dear sister, your pain of all what you're feeling at this time. I am listening to your latest segment, and I'm called to pen you a few words of love and support. I have not subscribed to YouTube, hence I'm writing to you through your email. I've been feeling so much sadness about all that has been happening within the twin flame community. I wrote a letter to the teachers who have come out and spoken about light versus dark. I do recognize they are coming from the place of their truth, and I did not debate whether it was true or false, right or wrong, etc. However, stress the fact that we're all one, no matter where we're coming from, our belief systems, etc., and the fact that it is for all of us to reflect upon and ponder on what we're putting out there through our energy, our words, our thoughts, choices, and actions. I did receive a couple of replies back and realized they are where they are meant to be. I see you, hear you, and recognize the pain you're feeling. I just wish you to know that you're not alone. I'm with you, dear sister. Keep on being who you are and speaking your truth. All those who are meant to hear will hear. I love you very, very much. Sending you so much love, light, and many, many blessings to you. So I'm so appreciating of her. Her name is Lydia. And it just made my day, just knowing that I have all this love and support that is with me. And I want to share with you at this moment that someone reached out to me not too long ago, about 2 hours ago, and she just reached out to me on Facebook Messenger saying, "Oh my God." And I said, "What happened? What happened?" And then she started calling me on the thing, but I was in the middle of what you call it, talking to someone in conversation. And then I was like, wow, why is she just calling me just like that? Because it's like she wasn't honoring my my space, or whether or not I'm busy, or something to that effect. So I then wrote her back and I said, what's going on? Are you okay? And she proceeded to tell me something was happening with her twin, but it's like it was always a moment of where names are being called and bad mouthing, and I'm just not into bad mouthing your twin flame. I'm not going to entertain that. I will, however, talk to you about what's reflecting. That I will do. Because you see, if you're talking bad about your twin, you're talking about yourself. You're bringing down your vibration, and you're also bringing down their vibration. If you keep going on, tit for tat and calling names and all these things. Of course, if you so choose to continue, it is a choice. But I'm only telling you the truth of what is actually happening here. So I wrote her back and I told her, I apologized to her and told her that I couldn't talk to her. And, because immediately when she was like, well, call me when you're done, because, I don't have that kind of relationship with her where I'm just going to call, because right away I felt like as if there's an energy like, well, she wanted to get my help. And so I had to honor myself. And so because I told her that I couldn't talk to her and that I changed my things around in my life when it comes to where I place my energies and my time being placed. And I told her that I could schedule a time we can talk in general, if that's what it is, or if it's that requires a reading to help her through. Because you see, if I was going to place myself with talking with her and then it's going to turn into a reading and healing, that's pulling something out of me, and then I'm back to the way I was before with the rescuing, saving, and my heart goes out to every soul, and of course I want to help every soul that I can when I can. But now it's time for me to take back my space and my time, because see, that is one of the things that have hurt my union, because I have been like sacrificing my time and my space all the time. And it's like, having the octopus hands here, even sometimes my kids are like, but mommy, you're talking to me and you're doing this at the same time, and and that attention. And that's one of the main things that I know I had to work on within myself, because that's not helping me with my union. And so this is that part of where I honor myself, and it's important for others to honor other friends, your friends or your relatives or your sisterhoods or your brotherhoods, to honor each other's space, really and truly, to honor each other's space and time. Because I don't do that. I never just call up. The only one that I know I can just call up and whatever is my really, really, really close friends that I've known for years, and I know they're not sensitive and touchy, and they don't get all tight, as one would say. How I talk to them, they don't get offended and hold grudges and stuff like that. I'm just not into that at all. I'm just not that kind of person. I know sometimes people say, oh, did I offend you? No, you didn't offend me at all. If you offend me, I'm going to tell you that you offend me. Trust me, I will. I am not thin-skinned. I keep things as light as possible if I can. So anyway, to continue, I told the young lady that it was time for her to decide whether she was ready to come to a place of healing. Because, I had already been interacting with her with stuff that was going on in the community with bullying and stuff like that. All these things had to be purged and transmuted out, recalibrated, regenerated, pushed out, rid of, buried, whatever parts buried. Move on, move along now, okay? And so it's like, I told her it was time for whether she chooses to come back to a place of healing for herself and her twin, once and for all. Because that's how I felt what Spirit was showing me. And I knew and I felt that she would probably get upset because I felt that she wanted to just talk out to be, what she was experiencing with her twin, and for me to join that. But for me, it felt like an energy of joining in a conversation that was going to be, come on and bash my twin with me, and I was just not entertaining that. So I said to her, I'm not the one to go pussyfooting around anything. And that's exactly what I said. I don't pussyfoot around anything. Meaning I don't dance around it. I'm going to tell you straight up. We could get into a general conversation to talk or reading to work towards healing. But I'm not. I told her I'm not interested in entertaining any 3D talk in old paradigms. Especially to do with using this name of, because she called him, she called the situation like dealing with a devil or a devil like situation. And I remember when I was raw in my awakening, oh boy, I did not want to call that name at all. It was offensive to me. It was annoying, and I wouldn't even call the name. When I go back and listen to myself in the segments, I'm like, oh my God, I sounded like that. Wow. Took me quite a while before I could even say so, because you see, that was something that was in my soul that was so deep rooted. That consciousness was there so heavily from what has been in my direct lineage. So there might be some of you that still want to call these names. I am not interested. Been there, done that, worn the shoes. Thank you. Bye, Felicia. Okay, all those names. If we choose for things to change in our lives, including what I call rebuilding our lives, rebuilding our communities, rebuilding our children, our childhood, the child that's within us, okay, the child that's within us, that means that we are not only breaking down the walls, but we are no longer calling each other names. We're no longer calling out names and things that do not exist, that has caused harm and fear into ourselves and to others. That means that we do not entertain it any longer. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise, if you continue to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, you're bringing it back into your reality and your existence. Whatever you do not choose to experience, then don't give it a second thought. And the same thing comes with the words. Whatever you speak out in words, it starts to set wheels in motion to come into creation that aligns with your feelings and your thoughts and your beliefs. And so it is. So speak more of what you choose to experience and believe in and, come into joy, whatever. So there's some who feel that, oh, well, you're talking too much about joy and da. So, you know why I do that? You know why I speak more about joy? You know why I play my music? You know why I dance? You know why I laugh and people have a problem with that? Because that's what I get more of. La-di-da, la-da-dee, la-di-da. And it's a fact. So that way now, when the other stuff comes my way, if and when it does come, it's not as deep in my thoughts and feelings and experiences than if I was more spiraling every fucking day talking about the negative stuff. Okay, if you talk about it, don't forget to swing back to the other side. That's right. And therefore, you have mastered yourself to having the love experience, the joy that cometh in the morning and the noontime and the night and the now. And so it is. So I'm going to play another video that was led to me to do with what's happening on the planet. And it also has to do with transmuting out these energies and also how you're working within them to free yourselves, because that's where your freedom starts, because you start, as I said before, to become clearer and lighter within yourself as you are doing this. as you are being it as well as doing it. You're doing it hand in hand now, okay? Doing and being at the same time. Okay, so this video, YouTube video, is actually through a higher self, and it is called Ascension Hangover, the Blues, the Rage, and the Flu. This was posted on September 23rd, 2016, and this is by Higher Self. And this recording from this is by Vera Ingborg.
Blah, September has been a ride so far. A burnout mixed with emotional explosions. Depending on the individual's journey and ascension wave they are part of, people have been experiencing intense purging for self and the collective and intense physical symptoms. As already described in the last article, the September energies were really wearing us out into surrender. Anger, frustration, a feeling of not belonging, and being homesick were predominant for those still going through emotional breakouts. Others experienced a complete emotional healing, only having to deal with new physical ascension symptoms. After the eclipses and 2999 portals, including a Mercury retrograde that ended yesterday, it felt like a huge ascension hangover. Intense fatigue, flu symptoms and vertigo were accompanying many. September 22nd was a peak date up to a point where people just thought they would die, because the pain was almost unbearable. The good news, there is a shift coming up, soon. I myself was unable to get one clear thought together the last couple of days. Nothing came through from the higher realms and I just felt dizzy, sick, and very tired. I even had to cancel some coaching sessions because I was not able to function at all. All I wanted to do was lying down and sleeping. My physical body needed rest for reintegration. I am very grateful and blessed that I am able to follow my own energetic flow, as I do not have any obligations towards anyone and no contracts that would force me into acting against my natural behavior. So I just did rest and sleep. I was staying with a friend and we were joking, saying we should make a video with both of us lying in the bed snoring with the title, "This is part of the team that came here to help the planet ascend." We could have probably found thousands of people participating in that video. So, what is it that is going on here? We are in another phase of recalibration. With the eclipses, the retrograde and the equinox, we were constantly taking in higher light frequencies and DNA activation was further enhanced. Additionally, our body was further shifting and continuing its reconstruction into the new crystalline light body. For those that still carried low energies of fear within, these energies triggered not only physical symptoms but also huge emotional releases and breakouts. Rage, frustration and doubts. I am so angry. I could kick everything and everyone around me. All of this sucks. I don't know who I am or what I am doing here, and I am so sick of it all. I want to go home. I want to exit. It is enough. WTF. That was and is going on for those that are still purging emotional stuff. The anger often ended in a blues. While it can be very frustrating, it is so important to embrace the experience and act out the emotions in a constructive way, with gratitude. Whether it is hitting or screaming into a pillow, running, kickboxing with a punching ball, etc., it is very important to find a good way how to transmute the energies. Every release with gratitude is peeling off another layer of the emotional onion you have created during your journey. The more you peel off, the healthier your emotional body will become. That is the only way up in frequency. In parallel, there still is a lot of clearing for the collective going on. As the new big awakening wave started rolling, they are feeling that rage, anger, frustration with the old system and are experiencing huge doubts about their own task and how they have been living their life so far. They are going into a huge identity crisis. Energetically sensitive people were feeling this, in addition to their own emotional stuff. Along with that, some heightened geomagnetic activity around the 20th of September as well as earthquakes in Japan added into this experience. Don't be surprised if your experience is preparing you now to help the new awakening wave through this. The big fatigue, the flu and the grease. The whole September was keeping us tired and wearing us out. It had to so that we would finally surrender because we were simply not strong enough to further fight the universal flow of energies. September taught us the hard way to finally be brave enough to follow our intuition and let spirit and source live and guide us. We learned that the ego can only do harm by trying to interfere with that flow. The past week a lot of throat chakra cleansing was going on. In combination with the higher light frequencies coming in, our voice bands pick up those frequencies first and start vibrating with the frequencies they are not used to yet. That resulted in symptoms of a sore throat. Many experienced major headaches and back pain from neck over shoulders down the whole spine. The light frequencies are taken in through our main meridian first, which starts on our head and then runs down the whole spine. These highlight codes were responsible for the vertigo as well, as the whole brain gets rewired. All of this causing a feeling of a huge hangover. Further, there was a clearing of the solar plexus and the sacral chakra for many, which caused additional flu symptoms, especially in the intestines area. And many are fighting with their hair. It becomes greasy a lot faster and grows incredibly fast. Hair always helps with the intake of higher light frequencies. The additional grease makes it healthier and at the same time helps the body to excrete toxins. Many people are experiencing heat waves and increased sweating for this reason. With all of these things going on with our physical body, and although we might feel like dog poop, it is so important to recognize that this is serving us to stay alive. We should develop a gratitude and pride in our physical body that it is able to go through this shift and rebuild itself while we are alive. If our body would not do so, we would not be able to survive in the fifth dimension. Our body needs to get rid of the old frequency and become lighter. It becomes less dense and more flexible. So listen to your body and what it wants to do with the energy and what it craves. It will always give you the answers if you are taking the time to listen and feel into it. Going with the flow. All of this is teaching us once again how important it is to go with the flow. We are learning to listen to our system again and what it needs. There is a time for action and a time for stillness. We need those times of stillness to reintegrate. It is like a snow globe that got shaken up. It needs some time for the snow particles to settle and sort again before we have the clear sight to see the bigger picture. Just knowing and trusting that we will see clearly again, and that we will get an energetic push to do and implement things, will help to make this time easier. The more we learn to go with our internal flow, the more we recognize how unhealthy the old 3D system is, forcing people into rigid schedules that do not match these flows. So what is next? For those that have shifted onto the accelerated timeline, it means goodbye to 3D for good. Those that are ready are now logging out completely of 3D. Those are the ones that have lost complete interest in the news, in the politics, in trying to fix things in 3D or trying to convince people in 3D. They are completely trusting in the power of Source and its self-regulatory mechanism. They know that the big shift coming up is inevitable and will eliminate what is no longer tolerated, as the experiment of duality and free will on this planet comes to an end. They know that the portion of light has now become so powerful that it simply absorbs the darkness. They know that just by being the light and doing what they love from their true and pure heart will support the shift. They have learned that everything that is an effort or is exhausting is not meant to be in their energetic field, and they will not give it any attention. The energies will continue to push us and our physical bodies will further change and require their resting periods. Nevertheless, we will feel a new quality of confidence and trust, and we will experience some strong energetic pulls forward to implement the things we were contemplating on and figuring out during Mercury retrograde. More people will experience a complete emotional healing and anchoring in 5D. That means living a fearless life and going through a reality shift, meaning that duality dissolves and all experiences are welcomed with gratitude, seeing their purpose. People that are ready will now remove their heart wall completely and truly learn to receive. That is when synchronicities will increase significantly and manifestation becomes easier and faster every day. People with a pure, open heart and free of fear can only create a reality of love and abundance. They will find their joy in the simplicity of life, becoming childlike again, enjoying every moment, being in the now, doing what they love and trusting the universal flow. The texts I share are always based on channelings I receive and or on experiences of clients and my own. I do not claim what I share to be the ultimate truth. I encourage everyone to only take what resonates to find your own truth and wisdom. As this is universal wisdom, I do not claim any copyright. Please feel free to share this content as long as you keep its message complete so that the meaning does not get twisted. Thank you. With lots of light and love, Vera.
And so another thankfulness that I would like to express is to Koros, who offered a listening ear, even though he never heard of what a twin flame means or what it is. And so this is a part of when I talk about how we allow ourselves to listen to one another, even if we don't understand, but just being there as support for each other instead of judging and criticizing because the person is having a different experience than you are, or if you don't understand it. And when we allow ourselves to have a listening ear, or even a hug, or a kind word, to give to someone, it helps. It helps along the way as we continue on this journey of moving towards this unity consciousness. And this unity consciousness is that part of that consciousness that we are connected to, that brings us back into wholesomeness with one another. And that wholesomeness is what facilitates things to work, for things to come into joy, for us to have it placed on the earth where it's all the time, permanently. You see, permanently. That's it. That is, so that all of these stepping stones and what I'm describing to you is what anchors in the gifts and the two worlds that come together, the spiritual and the physical, and how we're balancing out all these energies on between the masculine and the feminine side, and then we're no longer separated. And you see the frequency of the photon belt and all the different aspects of things that are happening with the planets is what is happening now, that facilitates the changes that are happening within ourselves and also on the planet. And it's getting higher and higher and higher. And it's the truth. It's getting higher and higher and higher, and more stronger and stronger. So anyway, I just wanted to thank Chorus also. I would consider him to be a perfect gentleman who had such a listening ear to what I was experiencing. He didn't have all the details, and it didn't matter. Is the fact that he extended his time to listen to me, just for me to be able to speak and to express my feelings to what I was experiencing. So, and he's a complete stranger. You see, that's what's so interesting about this. It's like a complete stranger. It wasn't anything physically meeting. This is just on the phone and in talking, and what it's like to be able to have this type of friendship on the planet with each other. You see what I'm saying? Whether it's someone of the same sex or the opposite sex. So it's so much dogma and things that we've been programmed into thinking what's right and wrong when it comes to the type of relationships that we have. And it's like really truly coming together and honoring each other, and not separating ourselves into thinking that one is better than the other either. Do you see what I'm saying? Whether you know something more, understand something more. We all have the power to tap into the energies and to that which is. And it is all in due time to whether that person chooses to tap into it or not. In the meantime, at the bat station, we still continue to thrive and we still continue to work within ourselves and to allow ourselves to understand, and we allow ourselves to move through the process, okay? To move through the process and doing that by remaining in that space of love. Okay, so I'm going to read two things. One is something I printed out a long time ago, that I would say within a week. And this was something that was, oh gosh, I think her name is, because I want to make sure to give her proper credit. Let me look her up because I want to call her name correctly. Okay, I can't find her name, but I believe it's Cien, something like that. And so her article, which she wrote, is Rebirth All Over the World. It really is a time of new beginnings. The fall of the old autumn, a rebirth of spring. Autumn, reflections on the season, September 22nd. Fall is a season for balancing light and dark, letting go and accepting the impermanence. The autumn equinox marks the arrival of the season of fall, traditionally seen as a period of changes leading to the dark of winter. Number 1, balancing darkness with light. On the autumn equinox, day and night are of equal length. This signals the need to balance light and darkness within us. Far too often we fear the dark and adore only the light. I gratefully acknowledge how darkness has become less of an enemy for me and more of a place of silent nurturance, where the slow, steady gestation needed for my soul's growth can occur. Not only is light a welcome part of my life, but I'm also developing a greater understanding of how much I need to befriend my inner darkness. Number 2, letting go. As we watch leaves fluttering to the ground in the fall, we are reminded that nature's cycles are mirrored in our lives. Autumn is a time for letting go and releasing things that have been a burden. Fall is the right time to practice getting out of the way and letting Spirit take charge of our lives. Generosity has such power because it is characterized by the inner quality of letting go or relinquishing. Being able to let go, to give up, to renounce, to give generously, these capacities spring from the same source within us. When we practice generosity, we open to all of these liberating qualities simultaneously. They carry us to a profound knowing of freedom, and they also are the loving expression of that same state of freedom. Fall, then, is the perfect season to give generously of your time and talent to others. Oh, look at this. Number 3, acknowledging impermanence. Autumn reminds us of the impermanence of everything. We have experienced the budding of life in spring and the flowerings and profusions of summer. Now the leaves fall and bare branches remind us of the fleeting nature of all things. Fall also brings home to our consciousness death and the challenge to live every day. When you are brave and have an open heart, you have affection for this world, this sunlight, this other human being, this experience. You experience it nakedly, and when it touches your heart, you realize this world is very fleeting. So it is perfect to say, hello means goodbye, and also my hope, hello again. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to read is the Twin Flame Energy Forecast for September 26th through October 2nd. The title is New Beginnings. It says here, double new moon month and Pluto direct, new beginnings in intimacy, but love is being challenged. Is your masculine twin soul actually causing trouble to help you rather than hurt you? It's been an intense September, and this is by Cassidy Kane, by the way, from Twin Flames blog 1111. It's been an intense September so far, and most Twin Flames and Lightworkers have been put through the energetic ringer. But the message is, the playing field is different now than just a few weeks ago. The scenes have opened up more for awakening sleepers, for making unconditional love possible in the physical. If you're struggling with your twin connection or hurting from the heaviness of the energies lately, I've created a free help kit for Twin Flames with a powerful energy cleanse tool. And if you want to take the bull by the horns and begin deeply healing and shifting your energy and twin connection, have a look here for more information on her tailored program for twin flames. Pluto turns direct. Finally, at the end of this incredibly eventful month, Pluto turns direct on September 26, marking a relaxation of the intense detoxing of manifestation and attachments we've been having for the past few months, although he's set to move through shadow terrain for a while longer. Plus, on this same day, we have once a year cosmic event of positivity as the Sun conjuncts Jupiter in Libra. This translates into optimism, a sense of excitement for the future. Use this high to boost your future and manifestations. Creative visualization and goal setting is extra heightened right now. Also, Venus oppositions Uranus, indicating new templates being funneled in, new perceptions about love needed. The message is Uranus is triggering us, lighting up our limiting beliefs and helping us clear the fluff and the lies so our foundations can rest strong. You know all the stories about women and men and the ideals of marriage, romance, and the myths served through TV, magazines, and popular culture. It can be a big block to true love and happiness, and Uranus is shaking things up to make us let go of these limiting beliefs. We go through and eradicate these in the energy clearing sessions for twin flames. Uranus is also helping us to get used to unstable conditions. There's a benefit to not getting too attached to places, people, situations, is his wisdom, especially when much is set to change in terms of life circumstances over the next few years to make reunion in the physical possible. Many are moving geographically and shifting out of old situations to move on to their new missions these next few years as our souls form new contracts and we tie up old business. Most of all, taking the next step toward physical reunion. We are free to love no matter what. Unexpected changes are challenging love right now, but the gift is that we're getting comfortable with discomfort, getting used to expecting the unexpected. When the whole twin flame thing is just too much. The ego could be stirring your situation up again right now, represented by Uranus in Aries. Maybe you realize deep inside this pair thing isn't really for you. You need to focus on yourself, prioritize yourself. Maybe your twin isn't what you want right now. Maybe the whole thing is too much, and that's okay. Love is voluntary. Take your time. Mars is involved in this tension too. On the surface, the masculine is disrupting harmony and love right now. This seems like blow-ups happening, but the secret message is that he's doing it for a reason. His soul is working for your benefit, even though it seems to be the opposite on the surface. Your twin is helping you to release all negative programming and fear of opening up. The feminine is likely to feel attacked or sabotaged right now, but things are not the way they seem. There's a deeper reason. Again, he would rather hurt her now so she can fully open up to unconditional love. Did you hear that? There's a deeper reason, so that way she can now fully open up to unconditional love. That was the theme of what I spoke about yesterday, that everything that happened had to happen the way that it happened for me to be reminded again about unconditional love and coming back to that space of love. To help with the process of moving out of conflict, negativity, and separation between you and your twin, including clearing the negativity your twin soul might be triggering, Spirit recently channeled her to the complete harmony clearing for the twin flame pair to cleanse out low vibrational ancestral programming in the twin systems, and importantly, to unify your timelines and uplift you into the highest vibration and dimensional alignment possible at this time. Moving past good and evil. October is a double new moon month with extra fresh starts. Love is active and the twins can progress quickly on their journey to union now. The key is to be led by the heart, not the head. Tune into your intuition. October begins with a new moon in Libra, a clear message for twin flames. We're entering into new territory entirely in terms of relationships. With Jupiter also in this sign of unity and harmony, and now a new moon here, this is a brand new phase. So in other words, it's like we're having double jeopardy. But it's not a jeopardy, it's a double blessing, I would say. Because Jupiter is in, and these are my words, it's not what I'm reading. Jupiter in Libra, and now we're in the new moon in Libra. So that's interesting. And it's all about balance. Balance, balance, balance. So it says here, we're now with Jupiter also in this sign, in this sign of unity and harmony, and now a new moon here. This is a brand new phase. We're now being asked to approach harmony and balance from a new starting point, from the inside out, to shift our perspectives to unity, realizing that we are one soul already, instead of the twins battling each other over right and wrong. So you see where the right and wrong comes in, right? It's an energy that comes through, and this is what has manifested in the twin flame community, about this right and wrong, about good versus evil, and right and wrong, and bad and good, and what I say is better than what this one says, and etc., etc., and etc. And so it said, instead of the twins battling each other over right and wrong and for control or freedom, we're asked to act as a unit. There you go. A unit. Partnership. Isn't that what I said? Not separation. A team reaching ever higher upward in frequency and balancing our communal energy field until it is clear and free from past attachments and negativity. We have 2 new moons this month, 2 fresh starts, and the next one comes at the very end of October, signaling a new cycle beginning in terms of sexuality. So didn't I talk about that? I said the sexuality. I know it's coming up. So the time now leading up to it is crucial. In order to get to the point where we can uplift and heal the twin flame connection and the male-female relationship to complete union and a sense of safety, we must first get into the mindset of seeing and feeling ourselves to be a unit. In other words, you're seeing yourself as a unit of one and not separation. And that starts from who? Your brothers and sisters, your fellow brother, the sisterhood. For those who choose to want to separate, said, I don't want to be a part of this person here and what they have to say, or I don't want to be, attached to this group or that group or whatever. You know what I mean? No one says you got to be in everything, but just allow yourself to connect to someone with something somewhere, somehow, some type of a connection, some support groups to support one another. It is not a one man, one woman show, and no man or woman is an island. This is about working together as a group, okay? Because the new earth is about the balancing and the effect of balancing and what it does for you as an individual, and what it does for you and your twin, and what it does for you and your twin and the collective. Can't leave anything out. It all works hand in hand. You complete the circle. So as I continue reading here, she says here, peace and harmony is impossible when 2 people see themselves as competitors, or hold grudges. Isn't that what I spoke about earlier today? I love when Spirit is on track with me, and I'm on track with Spirit, I would say, with whatever is led my way, and because I said, oh my God, I have all these articles to read to make up for all these weeks. I was like, which one? Spirit said, stay in the present moment. Okay, so once again, peace and harmony is impossible. It's impossible when you're all seeing yourselves as competing with one another, holding grudges, cutting each other off, blocking, unfriending, deactivating, tit for tat, pointing fingers, bullying, chastising, criticizing, judging, all these things. That is not a part of harmony. That is not a part of harmony. So the next thing is sexual undertones, ancestral complexes. Venus has now moved into Scorpio, continuing these themes. There is a strong sexual undertone to love at this time. We are in preparation, clearing ground for later. We are exploring where the boundaries between sex and love are, and whether there are any at all. The feminine is being asked to let go of any fears and old ancestral programming holding her back from fully opening up and allowing her sexual side to blossom. And I just want to continue on this with my thoughts while she's on topic here without reading the rest, is that the feminine is free to express herself sexually without feeling as if it is bad, dirty, nasty, or she shouldn't do that, or to feel as if she will be sexually harassed or harassed in any way, or that if she's and when I say sexual expression, it could be in anything at all, even if it has to do with you feeling into your own sexiness, even if it includes how you dress, how you feel about how you dress, and your interpretation of sexiness, okay? How you bring it about. I already know I'm sexy, you know, that song, you're sexy and you know it, you know? And so my personage and my energy, my vibration is towards love and sexiness at the same time. And to each his own, okay? To each his own. What is your interpretation of sexiness? And so this is about your perception of sexuality, how you identify it with your own sexiness as a female, and also for those who identify with sexiness as a male, because males are sexy too. Absolutely. You know, they're to be included in this. And so we all have our own interpretations, as I said before, as to what is sexy and what incorporates sexy. Do not let anyone, you know, even if somebody wears the long, I remember when people used to think if you were in the long baggy drawers, that's not sexy, you know. Well, it might be sexy to his or her counterparts if you're wearing long drawers, you know. And some may feel bikinis, or I love wearing boy shorts underwear. I think that's sexy too, you know. And I'm really starting to be very changing when it comes to my bras, because it's constricting, you know. So sexiness might mean braless, and sexiness might mean wearing a bra. So sometimes I feel sexy wearing a bra. The push-up bras, that's sexy too, you know. Sexiness could be you're wearing your hair up, or you're wearing your hair down, or you might have no hair at all and it's still sexy with some long earrings, you know. And sexiness could be whether you have a little red lipstick and you bring on that luscious lips with some red in there, and that could be sexy. Or it could be purple and it's still sexy. You could have purple hair, blonde hair, pink hair, gray hair. There are some women who are now starting to not dye their hair anymore, and they prefer to have all grays, and it looks sexy on a woman at the age of 40, 50, 60. It does not matter. Okay, so your sexuality also, when it comes to how you feel about your body, that's another aspect of sexuality and sexiness. Okay, that includes touching yourself. That's an aspect of sexuality and feeling sexy about it, which I'll go into details more, which I have already in some segments, but I know that I will be heading into that aspect very soon, very soon. So all of this is what allows you to open up to your own sexuality, even dancing in front of the mirror, playing sexual, sensual music, wearing sexy clothes, you know, that's also an aspect of your sexiness. So bring your sexy on. That's right. Okay. And of course, a lot of it comes starting from with healing within yourself. So this is when you know you've reached to a certain point where you know that you are healing within your lower chakras, and it's not blocked. Okay, and this is where it's not distorted for you, and you are probably, whether you purged through it or not, and now you're coming back into another space of what your true sexuality is, and that you're no longer feeling oppressed by this at all. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading to what Cassidy is saying with me interrupting her. And it says here, she says here, we are exploring where the boundaries are between sex and love, because a lot of times we associate sex with love at the same time, or we tend to think that when we love someone, that means that we have to have sex with them, and that is where the disassociation is starting to happen, because especially for some women, which that had happened to me before, is that if you feel that you talk to a guy, that right away they feel that there's going to be some sex involved, and it shouldn't be that way, and it is not going to be that way, because this is where we're coming back into the divinity of ourselves as the true feminine and masculine, how it was in the beginning, where we had love and mutual love and respect for one another, and even where we can openly tell someone you love them without it involving sex, or we can openly tell someone we love them without thinking there's a condition behind it, or telling someone that we love them not because we had to know them for a long time to say that we love them. You see what I'm saying? So all of this is an aspect of sexuality also. Who says there's anything wrong with flirting with someone? And it doesn't mean that you flirt with someone, it means that you're going to have sex with them. So all of these things are what we're breaking down, or if you haven't already, because some may have started already and some may not. You probably may have experienced some of these distortions and stuff that has been passed on through generations, and or maybe through your own experiences that you've had growing up, or what you have seen and witnessed in your family or among your friends or your peers, all of these things. And so when you're coming into union with your beloved, if you're carrying all of these distorted energies and perceptions and concepts and views and all these things, it's going to be disruptive and not much harmony in that. So that's why it's important how much stuff we're working through before coming into union and coming into balance with ourselves. And one of the most important basic aspects, I mean, this is complete basic, is the main thing for us as twin flames is through the sacred sexual energy. And if it's blocked, or if there's pain involved with it, or anger, frustration, or even trauma, it's not harmonizing with you and for you to come into union and thing, because that aspect is what's important when it comes to ascending together. Okay. And why we're working through all of this healing, and how I realize why it is so difficult for some of us to talk about sex and to talk about love and to talk about what it means for you and your union. And why most people don't want to talk about it, because it's also a taboo that people don't talk about it in their households, because you just don't talk about it around the table, because it's not table manners, or shh, hush, that's just for the bedroom. No, it should be an open discussion, and it should be a discussion because that's what leads to you having a healthier relationship with yourself, a healthier relationship with your children. Yes, you heard me, with your children. And also with the adults that are in your lives, because sexuality is how we got here in the first place. Sexuality is how we attain ourselves getting through and to rise higher into that Christ consciousness. Hello. And it's a fact. It is the truth. So I'm going to continue reading again as I interrupted myself. I wanted to put in my stance and things because it's so important. It's really important to understand. So the feminine is being asked to let go of any fears and old ancestral programming holding her back from fully opening up and allowing her sexual side to blossom. The twin flame connection is designed to be a site of powerful healing through intimacy. That's right, intimacy. But the feminine must first allow herself to be fully present and open. Old fears of sexual harm, fears of pregnancy, responsibility, and pain must be cleared first. She says, for maximum benefit, try the complete harmony healing for twin flames, which helps you clear out all the ancestral grids that limit our ascension into the higher energy vibrations. The themes of clearing feminine sexual blocks and fears is emphasized through the love planet's interaction with the other planets at the start of this month too. Venus first trines Neptune, indicating a heightened time of sensitivity, extrasensory perceptions, and psychic abilities and love connections, and encounters that transcend the earth plane, including twin flame astral encounters. She then sextiles, isn't it interesting that word? Where do you think that came from? She then sextiles Saturn and the true nodes simultaneously. Yet again, we're being pushed to let go of old karmic human attachments, this time in the arena of sex. Let's talk about sex. Humanity have a lot of hang-ups, and they're mainly based in outdated societal structures. Unless we clear these actively, they don't go away because they're embedded in our genetic makeup. We go through clearing this in the first energy session for twin flames. Eradicating family attachments and sexual control. Something few people are aware of is the familial attachments and ancestral patterns involved in sex, based around sex as currency, sex as value, and sex as a source of control. Sounds weird, right? Let me explain. Parents and grandparents nearly always cord energetically to their offspring in relation to control of procreation. And also, oh, you got to get married first before you have sex, or you got to get married first before you have a baby. Or in those days when they slept in separate beds. You see, all of these things are the generational programming once again. Issues such as an interest in children continuing on in the family name. In other words, telling people that the only way that we continue with life is that you must have a child. Why don't you have a child? What's wrong with you? If you choose not to have children, that is a choice matter. It's not for anyone to tell you that you're forced or thinking your biological clock is clicking. Clock is ticking. And ladies, there is nothing wrong if you do not have a child until you're the age of 50. Who says that you're having a child is only in the age of 20s and 30s? It's okay. God made you to reproduce if you choose to at any age, if you choose and believe. Okay, so we're letting go of a lot of stuff as we go along. So these patterns, it says there are issues such as an interest in children continuing on the family name, focusing on who the sons and daughters marry, and so on. These patterns are rooted far back in times where a daughter's virginity was an actual monetary asset. It's true. Monetary asset because of dowry, and where a son's fertility could ensure a safe future through children to continue on the work. In our day and age, these old energy patterns, and they are old and very outdated, and forms of attachment can often be sensed as pressure and tension between parents and children. Yeah, because usually what it means is that there's a tension as far as age is concerned. Oh, you got to be up to a certain age to have a baby, so you got to hurry up and get married, and the pressure is you got to get married by a certain time, have the child by a certain age. Then also there's pressure and tension to carry on the family name and also the family values and also the family business, and then if there's no love that's happening within that couple, then they head to divorce, and then they're pressured into saying that once you're married you cannot get a divorce, otherwise you'll go to hell. All these are the programming that have existed. Don't believe in divorces because all of that ties into the religious aspect, where some religions practice that, where you cannot be divorced, and the only way that you are separated from the person if you're going through a lousy marriage or with abuse and all these things is only through death, and therefore you stay with that one person for the rest of your life, and that's it. Or there's some programming where people believe that if they're in a miserable relationship, or i.e. marriage, that they wait until the child grows up and goes through college, and then I leave it at that. Those are patterns again, okay? So it says here, these patterns are rooted far back in times where a daughter's virginity was an actual monetary asset because of dowry, where a son's fertility could ensure a safe future through children to continue on the work. In our day and age, these old energy patterns and forms of attachment can often be sensed as pressure and tension between parents and children. And these attachments are buried deep. They're often one of the last layers of attachments to be cleared on the ascension path. Control-based cords to the sacral chakra are highly common in families. Look inside your intuitive space. Have you given away your sexual sovereignty, maybe even before you realized what sex really was? If you have, you can reclaim your power by clearing your old cords of attachment and control. Last but not least, balancing freedom and love. Right now, the collective is now being pushed to allow everyone freedom. If you haven't yet cleared attachments to your family, do this now, as it can work miracles for your love life and your twin flame dynamic. Needless to say, having your someone like mother-in-law's energies and intentions influence your relationship is neither healthy nor enjoyable. And she says, in the vibrational alignment program for twin flames, a step-by-step roadmap to union, show your easy and quick ways to clear attachments and map out your karmic debt, so you can resolve and release blocks and negativity. All twin flames are on earth ultimately come together. So once I got to union with my twin, I wanted to share the methods we used so that as many twins as possible can speed up the ascension process and unite in harmony to enjoy the rest of their journey together. It really is all about energy. Until next time, I'm sending you love and light for your continued journey. I believe in you.
Cut it up one time. Come on.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex for now. To the people at home or in a crowd, it keeps coming up anyhow. Don't be coy, avoid, or make void the topic, 'cause that ain't gonna stop it. Now, we talk about sex on the radio and video shows. Anything goes. Let's tell it like it is and how it could be. How it was and, of course, how it should be. Those who think it's dirty have a choice. Pick up the needle, press pause, or turn the radio off. Will that stop us, Pat? I doubt it. All right, then, come on, spin.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. A little bit, baby. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
Hot to try to make any man's eyes pop. She uses, she got to get whatever she don't got. Fellas drew like fools, but then again, they're only human. The chick was a hit because her body was booming. Gold, pearl, rubies, crazy diamonds. Nothing she wore was ever common. Her dates, heads of state, men of taste. Lawyers, doctors, no one was too great for her to get with or even mess with. The press, she said, was next on her list. And believe me, you, it's as good as true. There ain't a man alive that she couldn't get next to. She had it all in the bag, so she should have been glad. But she was mad and sad and feeling bad, thinking about the things that she never had. No love, just sex. Followed next with the check and the notes. The last night was dope, 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 dope. Take it easy
Let's talk
now.
about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
Ladies, I'm here, mama. All the ladies. Louder now. Help me out. Come on. All the ladies. Let's talk about sex. All right. Ladies. I ain't with all the ladies. Louder now. Help me out. I'ma get busy. Come on. All the ladies. Let's talk about sex. All right.
Yo, Pep, I don't think they're gonna play this on the radio. Why not? Everybody have sex. I mean, everybody should be making love. Come on now, how many guys you know make
Let's talk
love?
about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. A little bit, the beat, walking down the street in my new the freak, yeah. This is how I roll, animal print pants out control. It's Red Bull with the big ass bra, and like Bruce Lee, I got the clout, yeah. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. I work out. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. I work out when I walk in the spot. Yeah, this is what I see. Everybody stops and is staring at me. I got passion in my pants and I ain't afraid to show it, show it, show it, show it. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it. Yeah, when I'm at the mall, security just can't fight them all. And when I'm at the beach, I'm in a Speedo trying to tan my cheeks. This is how I roll. Come on, ladies, it's time to go. We headed to the bar, baby, don't be nervous. No shoes, no shirt, and I still get service. Wow. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. I work out. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. I work out when I walk in the spot. Yeah, this is what I see. Everybody stops and is staring at me. I got passion in my pants and I ain't afraid to show it, show it, show it, show it. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it. Check it out. Check it out. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah, yeah. Do the wiggle, man. I do the wiggle, man. Yeah. I'm sexy and I know it. Hey. Yeah. I'm sexy and I know it.
Sexy, hot. I love my style. Hold it on now. Brian and Tony go let the ladies know. They got it going on. Shug it.
Hey sexy lady, I like your flow. Your body's banging, out of control. You put it on me,
That's right.
ceiling to floor. Only you can make me scream and beg for more.
Everybody's calling, bawling, got me crawling Give a little bit of that, a little bit of this, let them know, yeah. Shag it. Original lover. Yeah. Catch a groove, girl, catch a groove, that's right. Oh, the man allowed to make you moist and wet. Oh, the man allowed to make you moan and sweat. Oh, the man allowed to make you scream out, yes.
Mr. Lover, Mr. Lover.
No, the man allowed to make you moist and wet. Oh, the man allowed to make you moan and sweat. Oh, the man allowed to make you scream out, yes.
Mr. Lover.
Sweet succulent and fire. A twinkling, yeah, you're my darling divine. I love the way you move and all the way you design. You're running lights from my mind. Forget that corny line. Now let me hit you off now with this question sign. You seem to be the type for me to wine and dine. A little candlelight and I toasted over some wine. Well, I will hit you off now with this lyrical rhyme. Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin' and swing. I'm Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin' and swing. Sing, girl.
Boy, I love you so. Never, ever gonna let you go. Once I get my hands on you.
Love me, sex machine.
Ooh, boy, I love you so. Never, ever gonna let you go. I hope you feel the same way too.
Step in my caravan of love, so I can love you down and give you hot oil rubs. Deliver wet kisses with embrace and hug, and I just see silky body on my Persian rug. While we be sipping cocoa from the same old mug, and reading fortune cookie from the Chinese grub. I listen to some great classic with some cool rubber dub. I later on reminisce in the hot tub. I'm Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin' and swing. I'm Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin', Mr. Lover, keep it rockin' and swing. Sing it.
Boy, I love you so. Never, ever gonna let you go. Once I get my hands on you.
Love me, sex machine.
Ooh, boy, I love you so. Never, ever gonna let you go. I hope you feel the same way too.
Girly, yeah, you walk a real love machine, girly. Woo. I hit you between the cheese and girly. Girl, you like to moan and girly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shut, girl, you're unique. Now let me take away from that sweet physique. You're the only girl I like to make my heart stop beat. Give me a breathless kick and heartless beat. To meet a lady of your caliber is an honor indeed. Leave a lasting impression for weeks and weeks. I want to throw rose pebble to your humble feet. Take you gently on my sheet and exercise you to sleep.
Mr. Lover, Mr. Lover, Mr. Lover. Mr. Lover, Mr. Lover, Mr. Lover. Ooh, boy, I love you so. Never, ever gonna let you go. Once I get my hands on you.
Love me, sex machine.
Ooh, boy, I love you so. Never, ever gonna let you go. I hope you feel the same way too.
The girl has got the touch. What you got is an instinct. That kind of girl. Max Priestess make them know.
She's the kind of woman that lets you know, but she knows what you won't let go. Takes you to a place of your fantasy, walks you to the door, but she holds a key. That girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
That's the kind of love.
Girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
Smooth type of girl.
No matter who you are or what you do, she knows how to click and everything you do. She can make you hot when it's cold outside, take you on a high and make you fly. That girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
That's the kind of love.
Girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
She's outspoken, I'm heartbroken. Just the kind of girl to keep my love life rolling. She's outspoken, I'm heartbroken. Just the kind of girl to keep my that girl to make you break your silence and speak. Just a glimpse upon the silhouette, my knees get weak. Baby, so unique. A reggae-matic lover, make her life complete.
since you won't get used. That girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
It's the kind of
That girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
well, I'm weak to her touch, so vulnerable to her blush. Love struck that girl like I have an instant crush. Call me a lush, infatuation or just lust. The girl possessed the stuff to make the man them.
Holy Moses, thought it could have been me. Caught up in this trap and didn't wanna be. But I ain't a fool, I was one step ahead. I had to let go, cause I was over my head. That girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
Dance a kind of
That girl, ooh, that kind of girl.
the kind of
That girl, ooh,
no.
that kind of girl.
It's the kind of
That girl, ooh,
no.
that kind of girl.
It's the kind of girl. She's outspoken, I'm not broken. Just the kind of girl to keep my love life flowing. She's outspoken, I'm not broken. She's the kind of girl to keep that girl.
Ooh,
I gotta let them know.
that kind of girl.
The kind of girl that cultivates her soul.
That kind of
Girl type of lover. Sure.
girl. Ooh, that
Shut them lights and rest the girls in case.
that girl. Yeah, yeah, you are my African queen. Ooh, Lord, just like the sun, light up the earth, you light up my life. The only one I ever see with a smile so bright. And just yesterday, you came around my way. Change my horse in way with your astonishing beauty. Oh, you couldn't make a brother sing. No ordinary thing, a supernatural being. And no, you are brighter than the moon, brighter than the star. I love you just the way you are. And you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart go ting-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, you are my African queen. Oh, Lord, ooh, Lord. Out of a million, you stand as one, the outstanding one. I look into your eyes, girl, what I see is paradise. Hey, you captivated my soul. Now every day I want you more. I cannot deny this feeling I'm feeling inside. Hey, no one cannot take your place, they cannot take your space. That is a fact I cannot erase. And no, you are the one that makes me smile, make me float like a boat upon the Nile. Girl, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart go ting-a-ling-a-ling. Yeah, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Oh, oh, yeah, ooh, you are my African queen, and I know, oh yes I know. You are my African queen, and I know. See I know what I am feeling in my heart and in my soul. Oh, I know that it's His love, and I know that this love was surely sent from up above. 'Cause you're the only one that I think of. You are my African queen, queen, and I know that it means that you're the only one that I will serve. I'll give you my heart, my love, my body and my money. Every other thing you think of. In a man who could think of anything better than you, who could think of ever hurting you. Sacrifice my all, I'll give it all to you. You are my African queen, for real. You are my African queen. The girl of my dream, the girl of my take me where I've never been. Oh, never mind. Ding-a-ling-a-ling, oh, darling. You are my African queen. You are my African queen. The girl of my dream, my African. You remind me of a thing. Oh, and that is the African beauty. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Munyemo, I love you, I love you, I love you. Munyemo, I love you, I love you. Oh yeah, my African queen. I love you, I love you. She was a Jezebel, this Brixton queen, living a life like a backstreet dream, telling my lies when the truth was clear. I think she knew what I wanted to hear, spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking on tightrope, my love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm at, there's no escaping me. I just wanna be close to you. You are the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you. Show you the way I feel. I feel love when I'm lying in the midnight hour, holding you just like a dream. Love is never what it seems when you touch and you're holding me the way you do. Girl, you make my dreams come true. You make my dreams come true. I just wanna be close to you. You are the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you. Show you the way I feel. I feel love every time your body's next to mine. Something deep inside of me wants to love you endlessly. When you touch, girl, you don't know how it makes me feel. I just can't believe it's real. I can't believe it's real. I just wanna be close to you. You are the things you want me to. I just wanna be close to you. Show you the way I feel. She had an attitude I can't explain. You never know if you're in frame. Tying me up with elastic words. I'm on the countdown till I get hurt. Her blood was hot, she burned so bright. A neon sign there in the night. It's hard to say if I went too far. My heart still bears a scar. I just wanna be close to you. I just wanna be close to you. Living a life like a backstreet dream, telling my lies when the truth is clear. I think you knew what I wanted to hear. Spinning around like a wheel on fire, walking on tightrope on love's highway. Fatal attraction is where I'm
the thing them call a broken heart. This blessed love will never part. They don't know it from the start. No tell them say I'm dirty, yeah. A Sean Paul and Sasha, come sing for them, baby.
Though you make me holler, though you make me sweat, I can't get your tenderness. Still I can't get you off my mind. What is it?
I don't say dirty love.
I'm still in love with you, boy.
Well, I'm a hustler and a player, and you know I'm not to stay. Dirty love.
I'm still in love with you, boy.
Try to understand that the man is just a man. That's dirty love.
I'm still in love with you, boy.
The loving from the start, don't you know it has to part. That's the way I live my love.
I'm still in love. Yes, I'm still in love.
What a man gotta do, what a man gotta do. Girl, whatever I can promise, and I'm bling bling for all the girl. When I just love it when me fling fling control the girl. I'll make your head swirl, I'll make your body twirl, I'll make you wanna be my one and only baby girl. Night time tonight, make you feel up to keep you warm. Girl, you never get this kind of loving from your bond. I know you want your cat, let me just get my
Love
phone.
you, baby.
I know you get the little loving on me, girl.
Know how to let me.
No time for no kissing and chow.
Even how to kiss me.
I do my
Oh,
check your little advice,
I don't know why. I love you, baby. I'm still in love with you, boy. I'm still in love with you, boy. I'm still in love with you, boy. I'm still in love. Yes, I'm still in love with you.
Me